Hello, Mark. Hello, Potato Supreme, Monica, Lisa. Thank you for being here. And Potato says the thumbnail kills me. Hey, everyone, Glenn is on tonight. If you don't know who Glenn is, you might know him because he's famous. He keeps a very calm and cool demeanor when he's on BFR, Building Fortunes Radio. And Glenn is on tonight. Glenn, thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
All right, where would you like to start tonight? Let's dive in.
Wow, there's a lot. I think the Vince situation, I'm finding very interesting because Vince is doing a little bit of backflipping. So he started off saying that there wasn't a 99% loss rate. He's then agreed that there is a 99% loss rate. Then on his own channel, he's now saying that there's not a 99% loss rate. And he's going back to victim blaming, talking about people not doing things, not sticking the course. Actually, do you want to play that little video?
Yeah, I can do that. Let me just pull this up. I can put let me get this up here. And everyone, if you're not following Glenn, this is his channel. So I'm going to put it in the description and then also in the title after this is posted, but it's MLM is Fraud. You can see this. And he uploads a lot of video clips. It's good anti-MLM content. And I highly recommend you subscribe to him. Okay, let me get this up here. And Glenn, do you want to just talk about who Vince is? If somebody's just tuning in and they're like, what are you talking about? Who is Vince?
So Vince Goodrum is a man who challenged Marco to a debate. He was then beaten quite badly in the debate. It depends who you ask, though. If you ask Scott Johnson and Peter Mingles, Vince absolutely destroyed Vince. Just totally destroyed him. Vince was Scott Johnson and Peter Mingles were clapping and cheering and so excited about this. Scott was so impressed that he actually sent him an email inviting him on. The problem was that Scott sent a very rude email that Vince did not appreciate, or Scott said that if he didn't come on, he was going to assume that he was scared. And then from that, Vince has then reacted quite badly and made a video trying to destroy Scott Johnson. I think he was unaware of the fact that Scott was a massive fan of his. He's then made a video where he's confused me and Scott, which is quite bizarre because the idea that Scott Johnson would have a MLM channel called MLM is Fraud is just bizarre. Anyone who listens to Scott Johnson talk for more than about 2 minutes, because he keeps saying it over and over again, MLM is only bad when it's done wrong. It's only because of the tool scam and the lack of retail sales. There is nothing wrong with the structure. So the idea that Scott would have a channel called MLM is Fraud is just beyond me. So he did no research. He made a channel slamming me without using my name, slamming Scott, and saying, who is this Peter person? Peter's the one who owns Building Fortunes Radio where Scott appears. It is just... It's all too bizarre for words. And this is the guy that is meant to be the home business king, the guru. He's since then been in a few of Marco's lives, and he's been saying that he agrees with the 99% loss rate. But then he's backtracked again on his channel. So I think he's giving two different messages. When Marco's audience are watching, he's agreeing with Marco. Then when he gets back to his own channel, he's giving a message that is the Scott Johnson and Peter Mingles message of MLM is only fraud when it's done wrong. When it's done right, it's okay. And the main reason why people fail is because they don't lift a finger. That's a direct quote from Vince Goodrum. And because they don't stick the course. So he's not going to say that on Marco's channel because he knows Marco's audience knows that's nonsense. But he's continuing to say that on his own channel. So he's backtracking and flip-flopping. And the video that he made after basically victim blaming, Scott thought this was amazing. Scott gave it 8 out of 10. Now, the only people that Scott has ever, according to Scott, the only people that understand MLMs are him at Scene Munger, who made, by the way, is an outstanding video. I recommend you watch it. The history of the Amway tool scam. So him, Scene Munger, and Vince. These are the people that understand MLMs. But at the same time, Vince and Scott are now enemies, if you can follow all of that. So,
I think that's a good introduction of what, and that's a good summary of what's been going on, because it's convoluted. It doesn't make any sense.
I hope the audience isn't confused by it, because I am confused by it.
Okay, sorry.
I think basically, though, if Scott had to send a polite email, Scott Johnson and Vince Goodrum, the home business king, would have been the best of buddies, because they agree on pretty much everything. I mean, Vince and Scott Johnson agree on far more than what I and Scott Johnson agree on. And anyone who's watched an episode of me on Building Fortunes Radio will agree with that. But Vince and Scott are now enemies, and it's just all bizarre.
It's so weird. The video clip that you'd like me to share, is that the one that the FTC says 99% of people fail? Is that what the one?
Yes, that's spot on, because it goes against what he was saying in Marco's live the day before in the comments section.
Let's see this. All right. Just going to share this here. All right, there it is. I think I can go. Oops. All right, I'm going to play this. I'm going to just speed it up. 1.5 speed.
Hey everyone, Home Business King here at homebusinessking.com. Reason for the video is I wanted to discuss the FTC report that 99% of people fail in network marketing. Me personally, I'm not a big statistics person.
So red flag right there. I wanted to stop and pause and comment on that. Anytime there's going to be somebody positioning themselves as an expert in a field, going to be advising you on what you should or shouldn't be doing, and they dismiss facts, reality with like, well, I don't really believe in it. That's a huge red flag. It's like covering up that they don't know information by discounting it. Well, it's not that important because I don't know. If I don't know about it, I know everything. I have nothing else to learn. Did you want to add anything to that, Glenn?
Yeah, absolutely. If you were to go to a person who was, say, a franchise expert, they would know the percentages of each franchise that succeed, that fail, the return on investment. They would know it all back to front. They would know all the legalities, how much territory you have, what are the risks. You would certainly not go to a franchise expert who would say, I'm not a big statistics person. If you did, you would run out of the office, because there's nothing more inappropriate for an expert on business to say that I'm not a statistics person. Statistics, facts, and data are everything when you are looking at starting a business, especially not starting a business from scratch, but buying a franchise or a starter pack into an existing business. That is just an unbelievably insane comment for me.
Yeah. And the reason why, this is important to talk about, because as you encounter various coaches or people trying to pass themselves off as experts, you need to be able to critically think and look at what people are saying, listen, and then let's say, does this make sense? Why would somebody say this? Would you accept this kind of discounting of statistics from, the FDA, or if there's going to be an approved drug, or that you're going to a doctor? Well, 99% of people die, in this operation, but I don't really believe that. Do you want to take that chance? Does that make sense? Is that a good objection? I wanted to just read this comment too. Julie says, I don't know about you, but I can't trust anyone who calls himself the business king. Exactly. I was weary, or, when I saw the gold lion, but business king, nope, I'm out. This is so good because people are already skeptical and their bullshit meters are on high alert when you see this kind of deceptive marketing too, where it's like you need to call yourself a king or a queen, empire, that kind of hyperbole. It's transparent now. It reeks of multi-level marketing.
Well, maybe Julia.
Yep.
Maybe if the person had successfully created a hamburger shop that turned into 90 hamburger shops and had also started a gym and it had turned into 25 gyms. But unless they've got that sort of track record in business, then no. Vince's track record is a prison guard, a telemarketer. He was in an MLM that was closed down for being a pyramid scheme, door-to-door sales. That they are not the activities of somebody who is a home business king or who is creating empires or can help you create an empire. He's probably very, very qualified to coach you on how to telemarket, how to sell products door to door, how to recruit people into a business that was closed down as a pyramid scheme, but to create an empire. Where's the record of him creating any empire?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like right off the bat, you can start asking yourself these questions and just look at what the person is purporting to be, like what Glenn is talking about. What is your empire? What exactly are you supposed to be teaching? There is no substance behind this, which is the same thing as behind most like fake gurus or multi-level marketing coaches or people in multi-level marketing. They use the same kind of tactics. Julie says, I was so confused by the king and lion. I didn't hear a thing he said. And Lisa says he wants to dismiss the data because he knows it doesn't support what he's about to say. So he wants you to doubt its value. So well said. Okay, so we made it through 29 seconds of that video, and I know I'm going to be stopping it again.
Or anything like that. And one thing about statistics is that, it can vary depending on what source that you go to. The AARP says that it's 75%. It doesn't really.
So I wanted to just unpack this part too. The AARP, I believe their source, how they reported their data or how they collected their data, wasn't like John M. Taylor's study, which the FTC has published on their website, which talks about over 99% have to fail in any multi-level marketing company. The AARP, I believe it was like self-reported. So they're asking people within multi-level marketing, how much money have you made? Did you lose any money? And as we all know, everybody that has been in multi-level marketing has never tracked their expenses or income. The vast majority of people don't. So you're going to be like asking people who are brainwashed, who don't track their expenses, because all of their expenses are an investment in themselves. It's getting inaccurate data. So it's funny how it's already just trying to, like what Lisa says, discounting data by trying to bring in, but it just depends. Statistics just depend on what source. There's truth. There's a little bit of truth in that, but it doesn't mask that it's a lie. MLMs are scams. MLM is fraud. Just like Glenn's channel is titled MLM is fraud. Please give him a follow. Do you have anything to add, Glenn?
Yeah, I think you've covered it pretty well there. Yeah.
All right, sounds good.
Matter. I'll go by the FTC report that 99% of people fail in network marketing. The only issue that I really take amongst this is, I know the FTC did a very thorough report, but it seems as though this report is actually discouraging people from actually starting regular home businesses.
Like what?
It's discouraging people from starting multi-level marketing businesses, buying starter kits into these companies that have a documented history over decades of more than 99% of people losing money. That's all they're discouraging. They're not stopping you from starting a business selling, arts and crafts from your house and selling them onto eBay or anything like that. They're just discouraging multi-level marketing.
Yeah,
that's it.
He didn't read it. He did absolutely no research. It's just like spitting out whatever comes out. Just, oh, well, it seems to, no, it's not. It's not discouraging other businesses, regular home businesses at all. If you read the report, if you actually did the research, you would know that. Treytino is like the crossover I was never expecting. Hey, Treytino. Can't get back on here.
And they're all getting one thing together. So I'm just going to make a general statement on this. And this is also a little bit of advice to everyone, okay, when it comes to running a business, okay? So whenever you start in the business, your failure rate is at 100%. Why is that? It's simply because you've not done any business yet. You've not made any sales. In fact, when you start a business, obviously,
Oh my God, here we go. I got to find my fart whistle because this is it. So here we go already with the word salad. Troy Tito's like, he reminds me of my uncle who doesn't know anything or do any research and acts like an expert.
you're going to be in the negative. Okay. Now, if you don't do anything in the business whatsoever, you're going to fail. Okay. If you don't make any sales, if you do not do any particular type of activity, you're going to fail. It doesn't matter if it's a network marketing business.
So this is important because there was the interest. This is how when you're in multi-level marketing and you've like brought over all that manipulation, that deception, that deep indoctrination, that MLM is legitimate. This is how they roll. So it's like, it seems to me the FTC is saying all businesses, just discourage all businesses, then slips right into starting to talk about, well, if you don't do any work and you don't do any sales, well, of course you're going to fail. Are you talking about business or talking about multi-level marketing? This is always about multi-level marketing, but what were you going to say, Glenn?
What Vince just said then, I've heard my dad say that maybe 2,000 times. I have heard Scott Johnson say that over and over again. He's quoting his enemy, Scott Johnson. It's extraordinary. These guys hate each other, but they're quoting each other.
So weird. Multi-level marketing is so messed up. But this is what happens. Like, even if you're like outside of it, which I guess Vince is, I'm not really sure if he still is in multi-level marketing or not, but you see how it still messes with people's minds where they still believe this, giving this weird advice. Like, if you don't make any sales, well, of course you're going to fail. Well, it doesn't matter if you make sales. And he's going to, I watched a little bit of this video before we went on live. It doesn't matter how much work you do either, because the model ensures that over 99% of people must lose. It doesn't matter how hard you work. It doesn't matter if you do make sales or not. More than 99% of people have to lose. That's the only way these things work. It has nothing to do with your activity level. It has nothing to do with how many mindset trainings or personal development courses that you take. And if anybody's watching this and you're in multi-level marketing and you're beginning to question, I encourage you to go on the FTC website and look up John Taylor's research and start reading it. Do your research. You know, when we're in MLM, we're like, do your own research. You got to get educated. All of you haters that say multi-level marketing isn't a legitimate business model, do your research. I never did my research. Vince admits himself that he'd never even looked at the FTC site to like look at this 99% figure. And then he did. And like, lo and behold, he admits, depending on when you ask him, that this is accurate. So I encourage you to literally do your own research, like what we'd say in multi-level marketing, except actually do it. Johnny's on here. David G says, who needs a soundboard when you got fart whistles? Okay, we'll get back on this here.
Doesn't matter if it's a regular direct sales business. It doesn't even matter if it's a regular job. If you don't do anything on your regular job, if you don't do any work, you're going to get fired. So with that being said, you start out at 100% failure, okay? Because you've done no business. You start out with a negative balance when you start a business. Now, what changes that percentage of failure is the activities that you do. You know, once you start making sales.
Incorrect. I don't know how many people, you could look at anti-MLM, people that are speaking out, MLM survivors, myself included. It doesn't matter how much activity that you do. Your activity, it is not a numbers game. That's another one of these thought-stopping cliches that MLM cults like to use. And like your dad has continued to work and to ask people to take a look at the Amway opportunity or the plan. It has nothing to do with how many people you speak with. It's because you're in a pyramid scheme. The conclusion has already been written. Most people have to lose money.
Yeah, my dad's the best example of that. He was prospecting every single person that got into his taxi for years on end. He was going to meetings every single night. He was listening to Amway tapes or CDs every single moment that there was not someone in the taxi, which was the majority of the day. He could not possibly have been doing any more activity. And his sponsor said over and over again that it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. Whenever he'd get upset that someone quit or wouldn't join, he'd just say, it's a numbers game. And then he'd hype up again. I sent you my dad's sponsor's business card. Could you show that a little bit later, Julie?
Yeah.
Because it's a ripper.
I can do that right now. It's here. I'll have to, did you want to see that now or do you want to finish
watching it later? I'm
Okay.
kind of keen to show the end of this Vince.
Okay.
Speech.
Yeah. Well, I'll show it because I do have it ready to go, but I'd have to like stop showing the screen. And so, yeah, I'll show you that. Yeah.
By the way, Scott Johnson gave this speech 8 out of 10. So he just thought this speech was amazing.
How odd. And it's so weird because he's already like equating multi-level marketing and saying it's direct sales, which it's not, which with a real job with a real job. Even if you're at a job and you're not working, you're going to get fired. It's the exact same thing as starting a business, which you start at 100% failure, which is why multi-level marketing is a totally legitimate business model. You can't make this shit up. Okay. It's just so wild. Oh yeah, and I want to just add too, like, so for myself, if you haven't come across my content and you're just on here for the first time, I was in multi-level marketing for five years. I made it to the top 0.68% of Mon 8. That sounds impressive, but my best year, I earned just under $13,000 Canadian. But accolades, I had people saying, you got to be like her. She worked so hard. I did at least one Facebook Live video every day, exactly how you're supposed to do it, with the intro, question, content, call to action, for 3.5 years straight. On top of that, I was prospecting 200 people a day, following up with 40 people a day. And people will say, well, you know what? You had a bad mindset. You were just trying to prove this wrong. You were trying to prove the system wrong. The only people that lose in multi-level marketing are those that quit. All of that is bullshit. You're in a system that is rigged. The game has already been lost. I forget whether it was Douglas Brooks, but he said it's like getting into multi-level marketing. It's like buying a lottery ticket to last week's lottery. It's already been drawn. All right, I'm just going to read these comments and we'll get back on this. Julie says, in high school debate, I found there was a statistic to back up any claim. So you had to be able to show why the source got it wrong. Like pointing out self-reporting. Who wants to say I failed? Yep. David G, multi-level marketing is fraud. Multi-potato marketing, on the other hand, is 100% legit.
Once you start doing business, once you start getting your leads and everything, that percentage, that chance of your business failing goes significantly down.
No, it doesn't.
Okay?
No.
Nope. Simple. The percentage of failure, in my opinion, doesn't make a difference because it's
the percentage of failure, in his opinion, doesn't make a difference.
He's all about opinions. He's all about opinions and feelings over facts and data. That sums up Vince.
I just hope people wake up, when they see this. I remember I behaved like this. I believed this would have made sense to me. And seeing now, like leaving multi-level marketing, seeing through the charade, you have to laugh. Otherwise I'd cry. But I mean, a lot of people are being hurt by this. People are losing their homes. People are destroying their relationships, all because of these word salads. Like, well, it's just, in my opinion, the percentage rate doesn't really matter. Of course it matters. Are you going to get on an airplane that says it's 99% of these flights, over 99% of them are going to crash? Everybody will die. Well, it's just my opinion. I mean, it really doesn't matter. I mean, it's ridiculous. The mental gymnastics that people will go to in multi-level marketing to avoid looking at the facts and not admitting that they could possibly be wrong. They have to their ego is so huge. They have no humility. They cannot think for 1 second that what they're doing could be hurting other people. They would just rather be like, strutting around, peacocking around. I'm making a lot of money, therefore I don't give a fuck what happens to anybody else. It's disgraceful.
Which is literally what Vince was saying in the first live with Marco, that he doesn't care if other people lose because he was winning.
And that's disgusting. There's no excuse for that. That's just, that's the American dream.
That's true.
That's what the real American dream is. As long as, and you can't just win and have a great life and have financial freedom, you have to do it at the expense of other people. So then you can just show how great you are. It's so disgusting.
It's not applicable to someone that is actually working.
Bullshit.
Someone that is going out and putting in 110% effort
Bullshit.
into making their business successful.
I think of my team, my downline, that were working their assholes off, purchasing courses, doing everything that their coaches were telling them, and what my company Mon 8 was telling them. I could see that people on my team were working very hard, and it was not, there's a line I think that we all have, even like when I was brainwashed, there's no fucking way that I would be saying to people on my team that they were less than a person, that they weren't trying hard enough, when I could damn well see that they were. It is not okay to just write off all these people that like, well, nobody's working, nobody's doing anything. Your head is in the sand. Actually, your head is up your ass, because that's not what's going on. And the amount of damage that multi-level marketing continues to ring on people, there's no words for it. I'm getting pissed off, Glenn. I'm gonna get through this video.
Okay. The biggest thing that you do have to remember is you got to stay the path, folks. Okay. If you believe in something, then you need to go all out. Don't just go halfway in. Okay. Because guess what? Eventually, whether it's going to be the business that you're started or another business, even if you fail at the business that you're doing, you're going to learn from your mistakes. And when you start back up that business or even another completely different business, you're going to have a lot better results because you've learned from the mistakes that you've made. So,
well, I mean, that's a good piece of advice. That's true. You know, not in relation to multi-level marketing per se, but like as in general world advice, I would say that that's accurate.
But I think failing in an MLM business doesn't help you in any way, shape, or form succeeding in the future.
It can help you get out. It can help you get out, and it can help you start speaking out against multi-level marketing. Yeah, but no, you're right. It doesn't.
But they often say though that even if this business doesn't work, the information that I've learned in the trainings, that's going to hold me in good stead for future opportunities, which is completely wrong, because the teachings in the MLM education materials are so flawed, and they do not, there's nothing in them that can help you in other aspects of life. I'm actually going to upload a video from Birdie and Dexter Yeager. Now, when I first watched it, I thought, this is the most boring thing I've ever seen. This is too bad. I'm not even going to bother to put it up. And then I thought, actually, this is so bad that it's good. Birdie Yeager, who is Dexter Yeager's wife, spent 45 minutes talking, and she didn't use the word Amway once, multi-level marketing once, an Amway product once. She instead talked about how God helped her decide on buying a home. It started at 5.9 million, and then it came down, I think it was 4.9 million. And it was all because of the grace of God, and that she just she knew she had to trust God. And then she was saying the same is right for you people. You need to trust in this business. I mean, there was nothing in that talk which could help you in any aspect of life. And amazingly, bizarrely, the crowd clapped and cheered and paid huge money to watch this. But I think the most interesting part of it is on the back of the VHS tape. And I don't think you'll find another example of this on a VHS tape. It says, purchase of this tape is optional and non-refundable. I think that pretty much sums it up. Have you ever seen a VHS, CD, DVD saying that the purchase of this is optional and non-refundable? So that they obviously get so many requests for refunds that they put that on the tape, and really emphasizing purchase is optional. If you're selling a normal VHS tape or DVD or CD, you don't need to put that on the cover, but they did.
Welcome to the cult. And this is, that belief, just believe, just keep going. Only losers quit. or only quitters lose, or whatever the hell that expression is. It's like you just always have to keep going. You just always have to stick with it. And then you're going to find success. That's another.
That was another thing that Vince had a crack at me, or he thought he was having a crack at Scott Johnson about, was uploading what he called copyrighted materials. Now, one of the things he was referring to was a Dexter Yeager interview in the late 70s. He said, and I quote, "Nobody fails in Amway. They quit. The only way you can fail in Amway is if you quit." And I'm going to continue to put that sort of stuff up because I don't even need to commentate on that. That speaks for itself.
It certainly does. And it's been parroted. Every multi-level marketing company says the same thing. All companies, all uplines, all coaches.
That was a bizarre interview, though. It was the softest interview I've ever seen. They did not question his nonsense at all. It was actually, at one point, the guy said, a study showed that only 1 in 80,000 people could earn a living. And Dexter said, very similar to Vince, well, I don't know about that, but I know from my experience.
Yeah. You know, as long as I'm personally benefiting, everybody else, they're just whining and complaining. I've seen people, they're lazy. They don't deserve it. They don't work. It's always something wrong with them. It couldn't possibly be that all these people are telling the truth. It couldn't possibly be that the emperor isn't wearing any clothes. It couldn't possibly be that I'm wrong. It couldn't possibly be that I have something else left to learn. No, it's just, you know what? This rhetoric is good. Served me well. I've made some bucks from it. I think I'm going to stick with it. It's just repulsive. You know, I know even when I was in multi-level marketing and I did a lot of atrocious things, I could not handle when people would say that other people weren't working hard, when I could see they were working hard. And I could see people, like, not only just in my downline, but when I was in rank makers, people are in other companies, and coaches would, you know, infer, and they'd like publicly shame them in a similar way that Vince is doing, that they just, you know, they're really just not sticking with it long enough. These people had been at it for years. Like my coach, Jennifer Ryla, she was in for 8 years. My friend, Michelle Culberson, she was in for over 25 years in a different number of companies. And she was at the top of a number of pyramids. She worked on the corporate side too, if I'm not mistaken. These people like work their tails off. They've made more money. I bet you they've made more money than him over time. And it's like waking up from that and knowing that you have hurt people. It's not, I just don't understand how, if you have a soul, that you can't admit that your actions could have possibly hurt people. For you to be so sure that you haven't hurt people, that's a red flag. To not even give pause. If someone says you have hurt people in your downline, the only reason you've had expenses, and I don't give a flying fuck if you say that you've just sold products, you have hurt people. You're like, well, I don't know about it. No, that's a problem. You need to find out. You need to find out about it. And you need to do right by it. You really want to help people? Being in multi-level marketing isn't the way.
Especially if
Michelle is here. So this is, I just wanted to, Michelle, I don't know if you know Glenn. Glenn, this is my friend Michelle. She was the season 1 winner of the reality show called Play to Win, and she had a year's coaching.
Oh, really?
Ray Higdon. Yeah. And
wow.
She says, yep, correct. I worked on the corporate side for a bit. So, oh, and here she says, make success inevitable. The only way you lose is if you quit. Sorry, I went on a tangent there, Glenn. I'm so fucking jacked up right now.
No, I know, because nothing makes me angrier than when people say that people who fail in MLMs just didn't try hard enough, because I saw with my own 2 eyes, day after day after day, my dad prospecting every single person he had any contact with, getting home after a 12-hour shift, jumping in the shower, showering really quickly, jumping in the car, driving 45 minutes to a meeting, night after night after night. And then for someone to have the audacity to say, well, nobody quits, they're lazy and they didn't try hard enough. It is absolute nonsense. There's nothing that can anger me more than that, because it's completely and utterly wrong.
It's so disrespectful too, because you'll see in multi-level marketing or network marketing, like we like to call it when we're in it, that this is such a beautiful industry. The people are so positive and supporting, and at the same time, They will say, well, you're not working hard enough. Well, you don't believe enough. It is disgraceful how they treat people. It doesn't matter if somebody is prospecting 1,000 people or 200 people. They're like, as long as you're recruiting people, as long as your sales are impressive, oh, then you're a worthwhile person, because that's the kind of mentality you need to be a success. It's such this warped, distorted view of human worth, and it just devalues people. It doesn't value them. It says that it's valuing people, but then it's just like with the experience, like your dad, working so hard, coming up from a 12-hour shift. These fuckers at the top sure aren't working like that. It's because they're above him on the pyramid. They don't have to do as much work. They'll say they do, because that's what they all do. That's what we've seen. I mean, oh, Jesus Christ, if you're in rank makers, we've all heard that. It's like, oh my God, let me tell you how amazing I am. I won't listen to like reality, but I will just sit back and I will tell you all of these stories of how amazing I was 5 years ago, 5 months ago, 10 years ago. Just talk about themselves all the time. And then what that realizes, well, you're not as good as I am. And they're just all full of shit. They really don't do anything except all they do is talk about themselves. And they've got their downline to be making all this money. Fuck! We're going to read some comments here and then we can get back on here. Michelle says hi to you, Glenn. And Natasha says, Michelle, you are a brave woman for speaking out. Lisa says, the tactic of blaming people by saying they didn't work hard enough always works, because no matter how hard someone works, they always think they could have done more. Yes, the victim blaming. You believe that you could have believed harder. You should have tried to manifest more, written more affirmations. You just weren't grateful enough for what you didn't already have, but you had to act like you already had it, because then that would have manifested. You were living in scarcity. You weren't living in abundance. And it's like the fucking snake eats its tail, over and over again. Monica says, I hate how they force you to share your sob stories and exploit you that way too. This is another part, like of a very key part of multi-level marketing, is the emotional abuse on top of the financial exploitation.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And Julie says, it also makes no sense to say that people in MLMs don't work hard. They were in need of what the MLM promise lied about. Hell yes, they would work hard. This was supposed to be their way forward. Anybody looking at any kind of anti-MLM content, they will, when you're looking at different creators reacting to people in MLM, they're working hard. Of course,
yeah,
they're working their assholes off. They're making videos. They're hosting events. They're selling their products. They are doing so much work. It doesn't matter that they're lying. Some of them are doing it purposefully. But what I mean by that, it's like, it doesn't matter that what they're doing is false. They're working very hard. That evidence is out there for everyone to see. So that's another just like shame on anyone saying that these people in multi-level marketing aren't working hard. Anybody in any cult works hard. Yes, it's fruitless. Yes, it's pointless. That's the point. Is the point? That's how I roll. You don't have a point. That's how I roll. It's like on my thumbnail. But the point is to keep you busy with activity, to distract you from the fact that you're in a pyramid scheme, which you're in MLM. You're also in a commercial cult.
I think a point too is, Julie, almost everyone in MLMs already has a full-time job. It's very rare for someone in an MLM to be unemployed or not working. They're all people that work full-time. And I think the reason why my dad is such a great example is that nobody in a normal full-time job could prospect for 10 to 12 hours a day. In a taxi, you can prospect every single passenger. If you worked in a shop or an office, you couldn't do that. You wouldn't be allowed to do that. So my dad, you'll find very few. I'm actually of the belief that nobody has prospected more people than my father, because he prospected in person. He didn't do it online because that is not the Amway way, and they don't want you doing that. No, right. So nobody has prospected more people in person than my father, because every single person that got in that taxi got prospected. Even if he stopped and he got a pie or he got put petrol in the car, they were getting prospected too. So, I think my dad is a very, very good case study, because he was in that taxi for 60 to 70 hours a week.
Oh my God.
Prospecting. And still, it led to nothing.
And another argument, or people will say again, it's like, well, he is not in the right mindset. Well, he wasn't following my system. Well, then that still proves that you're in a fucking cult. And
And-
the whole thing is supposed to be duplicatable. Like anybody can do it. You just plug into our system. This is our way. Oh, but if you fail, oh, well, you were with the wrong upline. Give me a break.
and nobody who had a normal job could listen to as many hours of CDs and tapes as he did.
Oh, God,
Because
you're
the
right.
great thing about the taxi is the majority of the time you're sitting on a rank, you're waiting for a passenger, or you're driving to a passenger, or you drive. So the majority, 70 or 80% of the time when he was waiting for a passenger to get in the car, he was listening to Amway tapes. So he couldn't have listened to any more motivational material. He couldn't have prospected more people, and still it failed in a catastrophic fashion. You know, he had to sell his house and move to a smaller house and rent that house. That's how much damage this thing did. But still, he's of the view that this is going to make him a multi-millionaire. So it's quite extraordinary. So
That's
yeah,
so
make
hard.
no mistake. It's not about effort. It's about, you know, there's the odd person can do it like Dexter Yager, but that's because he was such a good public speaker. Plus, he was also an entrepreneur and a risk taker who was prepared to buy a tape duplicating machine. And this is all explained in Sean Munger's History of the Amway Tool Scam. So Dexter Yager was a businessman plus a good public speaker. He had a few, you know, not many people. There's not many Dexter Yagers in the world.
And he knowingly abused people. One on that Eric Schiebler's site, he has where he wrote the book Merchants of Deception. He has this audio clip of his like Dexter Yager's views on gay people. It's horrifying. I posted that on my stories. He knew exactly what he was doing. So it's, you know, it's not even because I know people listening to this, you would hear the words like, oh, well, he was an entrepreneur. And they're like, but I'm an entrepreneur too. I want to be like him. And it's like, well, it's not just about having this skill set of, you know, identifying, oh, I can, you know, create these tools and then roll out this. I'm an entrepreneur too. It's like, you want to know, you're going to knowingly hurt people. You will lie right to their face. You will start believing that you're chosen by God. Like
it's not possible now to create a tool scam like Dexter Yager and Bill Britt did because it's already in operation. The only way you need the other IBOs in the company to be promoting you. So even if you were the best public speaker on the planet and you joined Amway, you still couldn't start that tool scam. That's done. His family's still running that tool scam.
Yeah.
So nobody can do now what Dexter Yager's done in the past, and the other MLM companies don't allow that same sort of con to go down. They're in control of the tool scam. These other companies run their own tool scams. There's not one distributor running it all. So if Dexter Yager was to be reborn in 18 again, he couldn't actually do what he's done. Look, I think what Dexter Yager would do today, he'd be like Vince. He'd have a YouTube channel and he'd be giving motivational advice for all MLMs. I think that's what Dexter Yager would do today. And
just like rank makers and also like Bob Heilig, Fraser Brooks, Eric Worre.
Yeah.
All those.
Tim Sales.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what Dexter Yager would do today.
Yeah. Natasha's like losing a house is just offering some support there. And David G says, as someone with social anxiety who avoids situations where small talk happens, if my Uber driver starts pitching me an MLM, I might just jump out. Yeah. All right, we'll get through this video here.
Folks, you just got to stay confident in business, stay the path. But also remember this one thing. If you've done everything you possibly can, you've done all the checks and balances, and your business is not successful for whatever reason, customers are not coming to you or anything like that, then it's time to disengage. Make a strategic exit, okay? The business is not going to work. You have to know when to leave. You know, you don't want to spend 16 years in a company like, let's take Amway, for example. Anyone who spends 16 years in Amway and fails, you know, every year and loses a whole bunch of money, you know, that's just completely insane. You know,
you've just described, yeah, he has just described all of multi-level marketing. People that stay in year after year after year and lose money, that's insane. You're right. Multi-level marketing is insane, because more than 99% of people are doing exactly what you just described.
That was a dig at Scott Johnson, though, because Scott Johnson's
Yeah.
been in for 16 years.
And you know what?
It's so bizarre to me that these two are.
Scott has been a victim, you know, and it's like, behavior aside, he has also been a victim of multi-level marketing. He has gone on to, you know, just, you know, be Scott, but it's, you know, just because you don't like someone, but what's so weird, because they both believe multi-level marketing is a legitimate business model. It's like, by saying that he was, it's insane for him staying in multi-level marketing and Amway for 16 years. What he's doing is equally insane. And it's just, it's horrible, because he's hurting people. And especially if there's any young people that's getting attracted to this, thinking that he's giving them sound business advice.
I think this morning when we had a little chat before we came on, you were saying that Scott Johnson's approach is similar in the way that he contacted Vince and these other YouTubers who he's had feuds with, who he agrees with, and they could have been allies. That's because of the Amway training. Now, the way that Scott was saying that he's going to weed them out and he's going to see if they're wimps or not, that's the way they teach you to prospect people. You're going to go to someone and say, look, I'm the guru. I'm offering you a millionaire mentorship program. Guys, that's literally what they say. They go up to a young person and they say, I'm working with some really successful people. We want to offer you a role in a millionaire mentorship program. Read this book. I'll come back in a week. And if he's read the book, I'll maybe, if you qualify, introduce you to these millionaires. Scott is transferring the Amway training to his YouTube channel or his Building Fortunes radio. And the training is so bad that it's actually cost him an interview with somebody who he, before this, respected and would love to have on. So it actually hurts your ability to run other businesses. I think that's a really good example of it. The things that Scott learnt in Amway, not only did they not help him in Amway, but they're hurting him in his other endeavors.
And that's that training, you know, that's all the tapes, the books, the tools, that constant, like that indoctrination is just like carried through, because when you're in a cult, it takes over your life. And so even just, you know, even though he has never left Amway, he is still very much a part of Amway, although he's not, you know, purchasing products but all that indoctrination, all those tapes, the cassettes, he still believes that Napoleon Hill is legitimate. He doesn't know that his name is Oliver. He doesn't know that it was all made up, that he didn't actually he never did meet with Carnegie. This whole thing is made up. He believes that like that is still like a really good book. That's this resource that's going to, you know, help you manifest, you know, think positively, do this personal development. And it's just based on nothing. It's actually sad.
When you came on to Building Fortunes Radio with me, that was the big take out of it for the day. That was, you got something out of him that I was shocked by, and so was Peter Mingles, because Scott Johnson's all about stopping the Amway tool scam. I think everybody, including me and Peter, thought that Scott understood that the stuff being taught was nonsense. Scott actually said that even when he found out about the Amway tool scam and the fact that the diamonds were making most of their money from tools, not Amway products, he still continued to listen to them and to read them because he thought they were beneficial. So he still believes in the approach of contacting someone and saying, if you don't do what I tell you to do, you're scared. So that's how it's still affecting him, because he's still using these ridiculous tactics. Now, that might be a good tactic with a shy 18-year-old kid who thinks you're a millionaire, who could introduce him to some other millionaires who could mentor him. But when you're requesting an interview with a YouTuber who has a huge ego, who considers himself to be the home business king, it's a terrible tactic. I mean, he could send that exact email to 1,000 YouTubers. He's not going to get an interview with one of them. So, yeah, so what he's learned is he's learned some really bad lessons. And I think, sadly, people don't believe me when I say genuinely, I think Scott's a good person. I think he's a good guy. But I think his approach is way, way off. I feel like if you met Scott Julie out somewhere, you know, you would think that's a nice guy. It's a good family man.
Well, you know what? I do have to say this. both Scott and Peter have a problem with women, and we're not going to pretend that that doesn't happen, because it does. It's pretty clear. They do treat women a lot differently than men. I do see how people can see that he's like a nice guy, but it's like in that same way, I see right through.
Yeah, I can't say.
You know what I mean?
I agree. I think that Scott gets very angry at anybody who doesn't think that he knows more about MLMs, that he is the #1 authority on MLMs on the planet. And I don't think it matters if you're straight, gay, man, female, black, white. If you don't agree with him that he's got the most knowledge on MLMs and the Amway tool scam in particular, he's going to say some mean things to you. Yeah, I don't think Scott really discriminates. And I've heard people say that about gays with him too, but you got to remember, Scene Munger is a gay man who's married to a man, and according to Scott, it's only him and Scene Munger who understand the Amway tool scam. So yeah, I just think Scott, he gets very ragey at anyone who doesn't agree with him. He's #1.
Yeah, just going back to what you were mentioning before about how that, like that, all taking in all that indoctrination from Amway, and then like it carries through just into the regular life. So approaching, sending an email to somebody that he would like to interview, for example. So say to Vince or anybody. And it's just immediately combative. It's like it's taken over this. In Rank Makers, it was called posture. It was like the belief in what you have, regardless of external acceptance or approval. You are the prize. You have what people want. So even though he's supposed to be out of Amway, and he's like all these other people who have left multi-level marketing, but they're still in it. Like they still haven't woken up.
Yeah.
And
the problem is though that it's that approach has worked for him, I'm sure, in the past.
Yeah.
If a young person thinks that an older person is a multi-millionaire and they offer to mentor them, that approach is going to work. But on adults of the same age, that approach is not going to work, especially when they know that you're not a multi-millionaire, you're not a guru, you're not a mentor. That approach is only going to make you look stupid. And I think the other point of it is a lot of people think that Scott Johnson's really stupid, but this is a man that's done an electrical engineering degree. He's actually quite intelligent. I think this highlights how bad of a Marco called Multilevel Marketing a mind virus in his banned Prime America video, which, by the way, is still on multiple YouTube channels. If you want to watch it, it's not gone, guys. It's still on multiple channels, including mine.
It's on your channel. You've got it uploaded in parts.
So he calls it a mind virus. This is a good example. You've got a highly intelligent, university-educated person. This is a mind virus, and it makes them look quite foolish.
Yeah.
Without this, if Scott Johnson hadn't joined Amway, and you spoke to him, you would agree he's a very intelligent guy. But this is a virus that has infected his mind, and even though he understands, he really, really does understand the Amway tool scam, he's still got this mind virus.
Yeah, and it's a cult. Like he has not healed from. He has been in a cult. He has recruited people into a cult. And you haven't, it's the mind virus. That's what happens when you're in a cult. It stays with you unless I did an interview with Guru Nishan, and she had said, time just doesn't heal. Like you need to get help. And Marco has also said this, which I like. It's like your mind has been like professionally tampered with. And that has been such a good explanation of how, like, of what my experience was. It's not enough just to do affirmations and be grateful enough to out toxic positivity, like what you've gone through. And you can see it with people that have been in for a long time. And even then they've left, and they can see that there's things that have been wrong that they are outraged by, but yet they're still linked. They're still plugged in. They're still not free. It's devastating. And I think of like the havoc that it wreaks on families, these relationships, it's just sad. I'm going to read some of these comments here. Factress says, it's insane how many ideas I grew up with in Amway about business or life that I learned later in life make absolutely no sense.
Exactly.
And consuming tool scam info regularly may give you somewhat of a problem with women. There's a lot of negative content about women on the tapes. And Champagne Hand says, being prejudiced against many groups doesn't mean he isn't deliberately prejudiced against specific groups. All right, we can get back onto this.
I think with the prejudice stuff, that was more of the 1970s, 80s sort of Amway tapes. So Dexter Yeager was, you're right, making anti-gay comments and a lot of religious talk in 70s and 80s. And then it's interesting, if you listen to Dexter Yeager, he changed a little bit. His message changed in the 90s and the 2000s. I mean, it was still bad,
yeah,
but it wasn't anywhere near as bad. He wasn't making, if you look at the real hateful gay speeches, they were 70s and 80s with Yeager. He then, as the time was changing, he then changed. And also, they got less religious. I think in the 1970s, more people statistically went to church than in the 90s and 2000s. So as less people in the business were religious, he then dropped off on the religious stuff. So pretty much, if Yeager was in a room that everyone was religious, he would talk about religion nonstop the whole time. But if he was in a room where there was less religious people, he'd drop it off and just talk about other things.
Oh wow, chameleon.
He would read a room, which is what Vince is doing now when he's in the Marco Lives. He agrees on the 99% loss rate. And then the next day he gets on his own channel and says, well, I'm not into statistics. And it's actually 75%. And the people that are failing are not trying. That's the issue. So it's very similar, but they'll change the message depending on who's listening.
Yeah. And that's where I get like, I struggle with, because I'm like, I hold out hope for people that they're waking up. Like, could this be perhaps that someone is, you know, actually starting to look at information and question it and admit they're wrong? Or is this now, you know what, fuck it. Now I know exactly how to strategically and purposefully leverage whatever social media exposure I have to continue a new grift. And I know people do that, and it's hard, you know, because it's like, I don't know. All right, let's get back on this video. We're almost near the end of this video here, this clip.
Oh. At any point in time, the most 3 months is probably going to be the most you should spend working a business. After 3 months, and if you've not made any sales, or if you're still in that negative net worth where you're not making any progress, time for you to leave. It's time to skin out. That's
kind of funny, because that there's most smart start periods, or like those fast start bonuses. You have 3 months kind of on average for a lot of multi-level marketing companies where you can get a lot of bonuses. And that's what it was like with Mon8. You had 3 months, pretty much 3 months. So it was like whenever you signed up was the rest of that month. And then you had an additional 2 months to maximize your bonuses. And so you could, if you were, say, the first in your area, or you had somewhat of a larger network, and then you could recruit some people, get them on a starter kit, get your mom, get your aunt, get your brother just to sign up so you could hit that first rank. And then after that, those 3 months, though, it's like your sales can kind of tank. And because that momentum is gone, because those bonuses are gone. So it's kind of weird that he chose that number. Might not be weird at all. You might know exactly what's going on.
Said in Young Guns too. So that's all I got to say on this video. Make sure you like and subscribe to Home Business King. Don't forget to also visit homebusinessking.com. As always, peace and soul.
Please stop doing this, Vince. I hope you're not knowingly grifting people. This is sad. All right. Monica says, what is his view on benefits and retirement? Because MLM don't offer those things. So are people expected to work for MLM for eternity? Yeah. And David G says, I can't understand half the things this guy says. It's like every word runs into the next, like a verbal centipede. What a great description that is. A verbal centipede. All right. You have anything, Glenn? Do you want me to show those, the business cards?
Yeah, I think the business card tells you a lot.
Okay.
This is how Amway business cards and MLM business cards look. They never mention the name of the company. They never mention the word network marketing.
So here we go. Peveril Enterprises, e-commerce, business consultants. The globe is spinning on the finger. And here is this guy's business card. So it's like, look at that, e-commerce business consultants. And then this is the back of the card. What's your priority in life? Personal development? Like, really? You never see this shit outside of multi-level marketing. Not like that's the #1 priority in multi-level marketing. We like froth at the mouth with personal development. We have so much to work on. Like, oh my God, give me another video to watch. Oh, is this new book? Oh, fuck, sign me up. You don't see people get this excited about personal development only in multi-level marketing. Have your own business, additional income. Look at this. 4 is meet new people. 5, retirement. 6 is financial freedom. 7, recognition and achievement. That's your priority. How weird. What's your priority in life? Family, friendship, health, cats, coffee. And what does it say here? Oops. Operating in 90. Oh, I can't see this. Why is this? Oops. That was my other clip that I did there. I have to shrink it down to see it. Fuck, I can't see it. Oh, they're operating in 90 plus countries worldwide. So this is for Amway?
Yes, this was the guy that recruited Dad. He was a school teacher who did Amway on the side. And he always said, it's interesting, there's no money in school teaching. I do school teaching because I love it. The money's in Amway, although he didn't call it Amway. He said it was e-commerce. So this is 2001. And he always says that this business is about to explode. If you don't get in right now, you're going to miss it. This is the time. And he always said that he was showing this thing and he thought about it for a year and he goes, God, that was stupid. I cost myself $100,000. And he said to people, don't make the same mistake. Don't cost yourself $100,000, because that's what I did. But what's interesting about it is this man inherited some money. And you know what he did on the day that he inherited the money? He gave up school teaching. Remember, he didn't do school teaching for the money because there was no money in it. He did school teaching because he loved it. But literally the day that he got this inherited money, he quit school teaching and has never taught again. And he also quit the Amway Corporation. So I think that tells you all you need to know about this con artist.
Wow. You know, and if you just look at this, it says it has his name and then enterprises, e-commerce. That's an indicator that it's Amway. I've seen a lot of people talk about that on Anti-MLM Reddit. They're like,
especially in 2001. This is before the internet was big. It was all e-commerce. I'm e-commerce. And if someone rejected the business, they'd say, so you don't think more people are going to be shopping online in the future? And they'd laugh at you. So if you rejected Amway, you were rejecting e-commerce and you were underestimating the growth of the internet, which made you really ignorant. And they'd laugh at you for it.
Oh, it's always that contempt too. This weird thing. It's like, look at this. The number one priority in multi-level marketing is personal development. This hasn't changed at all. It's just never ending. It's just this 7-point summary. It's such a good example. This is like all multi-level marketing right there. It's so surface level. It's all cult, like retirement and financial freedom. What does this mean? Is it one and the same? Like, this doesn't even make any sense. Additional income, retirement, and financial freedom. Like, aren't these all the same point?
Buzzwords. It's all buzzwords.
Yeah.
And he always used to wear a polo shirt, and he must have bought a heap of these because he wore them nonstop for decades. So it couldn't have been the same shirt. It was a shirt from a ski resort. And then he'd find a way of getting that into the conversation. And then he'd talk about how he could never afford to go to this place before Amway, but then because of Amway, not Amway, the business, they go all the time. And it was because of the business. So he gets to go to this resort all the time. But he must have gone and bought 20 or 30 of these shirts, because 10 years later, the shirts still look brand new.
We were taught this in Rank Makers. So I took this course. It was like how to influence people or something like that. And Ray would say, if you go to a resort, like a golf resort or wherever, buy the shirt and then it's where it has the logo. So then you can act really, oh yes, I have this shirt. It's a really good conversation starter. And it makes you appear that you're just like loaded. It's so bad. It's like the same tactic. So nuts. I'm going to just read some comments here. Factress says they don't care about the meaning of any of the words on their business cards. It just needs to sound good. They don't consult, but they're consultants. Yeah. And Monica says, if they're so proud of the MLM, why do MLM go to extreme measures to hide the word MLM? Why try to mask it with other names so much? Great question. And even if you look up someone like Eric Worre, he doesn't even call himself an author anymore. He calls himself a YouTuber. Well, all these people, they don't even say they're in network marketing. They're like, we're proud of this network marketing industry. It's like, Google their name. They're like, best-selling author.
He had an answer for that. He actually had an answer. He had an answer, Julie. He said, don't let a 5-letter word get in the way of a 6-figure income.
Oh, no.
He said that. I'm not making it up. It's cringy, but he used to say that.
Yeah. I learned a good phrase, and I think this pertains to multi-level marketing. But as you start, critical thinking, is that the lies take the elevator and the truth takes the stairs. In multi-level marketing, especially with the coaching, you're taught that you could short circuit, like you could take a shortcut to success. Ed Milet, Eric Worre, Ray Higdon, Bob Heilig, Fraser Brooks, all these fuckers say the same thing. Like, why would I waste time if I could just pay for a coach and I'm just going to take a shortcut? I'm going to shave off like 10 years. Who knows how many years I'm going to shave off just by taking this coaching, learning from the best. And you cannot short circuit actual success. In multi-level marketing, there is no success. The success has already been predetermined. More than 99% of people have to lose. Even if you happen to be, you get in at the beginning of a pyramid scheme, you're a founding member. Only 1,200 people have signed up so far. Only 400 people have signed up so far. Your success is going to be at the expense of the people below you. They will lose so you can earn money. Multi-level marketing sales are the losses of the participants. So when you wake up, you're going to have to reconcile that. It's not that you've just outworked other people and that you have sold products. No, your money is coming from the losses of the people below you.
Yeah, that's the other thing that Vince said. Your job is how smart did Vince think he was when he was explaining to Marco that the casino job he has was a pyramid scheme? He thought that he'd absolutely checkmated him, and it was just. And you just know that the only people that weren't laughing at that nonsense was Scott and Peter. They were there punching the air, going, "You got him! You got him! You got him! Vince, you got him!"
It's like all cults have a playbook, and all cult participants have the same scripted responses, and they all think, just like I did when I was in. I'd say the same thing. Corporate America is a pyramid scheme. My business, this is a business. My company isn't a pyramid scheme because we sell products. It's like, oh yeah, well, tell me about, you were in a casino, weren't you? It's like, think you're being so sly. We all say the same shit, and it's so obvious. Yeah, I did see that part. Okay. You want to talk about this card anymore? Any points on here you'd like to address?
Yeah, bunch of buzzwords that mean nothing. And I can assure you that this man today is quite wealthy because of his inheritance. Nothing to do with Amway. The holidays that he had to that ski resort, I think it was Whistler, Canada.
No.
He went to Whistler, Canada on school teaching money from his journey of the broke, which he worked full time. Him and his wife both worked full time as school teachers. And that's how they went to Whistler, Canada. It had nothing to do with Amway. Nothing at all.
But in multi-level marketing, or when you're like in Amway, everything is attributed to the cult. Everything is attributed to Amway. Everything is attributed to multi-level marketing. So even if it's like what actually happened, it's because of his teaching job. It's because him and his wife had full-time teaching jobs and they saved up their money and they went to Whistler. It's like, no, I'm so happy and grateful that Amway provided this opportunity for me. The same thing that's going on now years later. Thank goodness for Color Street. Look at me. I'm filling up my gas tank. Don't you wish you had an extra $5 to $10 that you could do this too? This week, I didn't have to worry about my groceries. Thank goodness for Arbonne and their fizz sticks. I don't have to worry. Today, when I went to get my groceries, I didn't even have to look at the prices. I just knew I could buy it because of my side gig. And really, it's not. It's because of their job. Or a lot of people have their spouse that's working and their spouse is footing the bill and masking the losses.
Yeah, so these guys had two big incomes, two full-time school teaching incomes. And they had two cars. So one was a really flashy car, one was a really, really old rundown car. So whenever he did Amway business, he'd go in the good car.
Oh yeah, it's all about appearances. This financial freedom, Tina.org, Truth in Advertising, that does, exposes influencers, companies and MLMs, anybody that's, not being truthful. They talk now about you cannot use this term financial freedom. And a lot of people, I know this is an older card, but companies still do this. Multi-level marketing participants still use this. And they also say it's not enough just to use this little tiny asterisk or like a little disclosure at the end, when all of your marketing is giving the impression that you can be a king, an empire, a queen, an entrepreneur, a millionaire. Like, when it's the marketing gives that impression, it's not enough to just have this little disclosure saying, well, it depends on your work ethic and not all participants are going to have this. And like, you can't get away with that anymore. Of course they still are, because the FTC is useless, but technically you're not supposed to. And at least Truth in Advertising is pointing that out. But I wanted to point that out about financial freedom, because they shouldn't be, that's still going, all of these things are still going hard today. This could have been just printed out yesterday. Personal development, have your own business, additional income, meet new people, retirement, financial freedom, recognition, and achievement.
Nothing's changed at all.
Nothing
at all.
Yeah.
The only difference is maybe they talk about e-commerce less, because e-commerce, everyone now uses computers for e-commerce, so it's not a big thing anymore. It's just, whereas they thought they were trying to say that we're cutting edge, we're e-commerce. All these other businesses are behind us because they're in the old world system. We're the new e-commerce system. And they were comparing e-commerce with microwaves. So, people were scared of microwaves in the beginning, but eventually everyone got a microwave. So people in 2001 were scared of e-commerce, but eventually they're not going to be scared of it anymore, and they're going to be on board. So the question is, are you going to get on now in 2001, or are you going to wait because in 5 years' time, it's going to be too late? They used to call, I think it was the J curve or something, and they were comparing microwaves with, is it the J curve? Or what's the some
I
curve?
think, is it like the hockey stick? I've heard the hockey stick.
It was some letter curve, and that was microwaves.
Like
they were comparing that with Amway. So if you don't get in now, it's about to explode. It's going to be too late.
Zebra or something like that. They also had a graphic. I mean, every multi-level marketing company does this too. And now they all quote Forbes. Forbes says that the best time to get into a company is when they're about to global expansion. It's like pretty much now, any company that is quoting Forbes, it's a pyramid scheme. They all say the same thing. I'm going to read some of these comments here. And this was going back to what and Monica had said, if they're so proud of the MLM, why, if the MLM is the greatest shit since sliced bread, then scream it to the rooftops. And this is something like when I was in MLM, we were taught that you want to create curiosity because people need to sign up with you. And I know on the outside, this is where there's this residual weirdness left inside me, where I see on the outside what this how ridiculous is. But I also still remember what it felt like, that this made complete sense. So it's really weird to hold these two things in my body and my mind at one time. But what we were taught and what I believed is that this is something that's so special that if you were to name it, well, then they're just going to go out and Google it. And then they might sign up with someone else and you blew your chance. And
yeah, but that was less of a problem in 2001. It's gotten harder now, because in 2001, it was very hard to find out information about Amway. I remember I didn't figure out there was a 99% loss rate until after the UK Trade Commission took Amway to court in 2006. This is 5 years. And I remember I told Dad this, and he went off. He went on about how he'd met some really good people and how I was a sabotager and a stinking thinker. He didn't speak to me for I think it was about a month or maybe even 2 months, because I showed him the 99.7% loss rate that was in the Amway versus Beer. And I urge everybody to look this up. It's Amway versus Beer court transcript from 2006. And it stated very clearly, 99.7% of all Amway participants in the Amway Corporation over a 40-year period had lost money. 99.7% over 4 decades. And for that, I was discommunicated because I was a negative, dream stealing, jealous, and all I did was cite data. And that's why I think a lot of the time the best thing is anti-MLM is that we can do is just cite that data. Get on. I urge people, get on. You don't have to be well spoken or educated. Cut and paste that bit of information from the court transcript and put it on your feed. You can't argue with that. There's no even the best, cleverest talker, lawyer in the world can't argue that in the UK, 99.7% of everyone in Amway lost money. So we just need to keep showing that over and over again. And something that Scott Johnson said, which I think is spot on, he says, it's about who gets to the 18-year-old first. If we get to the 18-year-old first and say 99.7% of everyone who's ever participated in the Amway Corporation loses money, that kid is never, ever, ever going to join Amway. But if the Amway recruiter gets to that kid first before they've heard that, there's a big chance they'll get in. And once they get in, that 99.7% fact is probably not going to get them out. So it's about who gets there first. And
that's alarming that is considered an effective standpoint, or like, oh yeah, this makes total sense. Whoever gets to them first. It's like, this is about cult recruitment. You're talking about, somebody in multi-level marketing, somebody in Amway needs to get to them first. And we need to not give them the information, because if I was given all the correct information beforehand that more than 99% of people lose and have to lose, which opening a business, you're supposed to be given all the information before you make a business investment. No, we need to deceive you. We need to manipulate the data, not show it to you in order to get you first. It's like, do you hear yourself? You should be able, it shouldn't be a matter of swooping in to deceive you, to deceive an 18-year-old. You should equip this. If it was a legitimate business, if this is not a scam in any enterprise, people should be given information and allowed to think and critically think, encouraged to. Not as a matter of getting to them first. It's so disgusting. It's like somebody saw somebody at the gym. It's like, I saw her first. She's my girlfriend. I saw him first.
But Scott's saying that in as anti-Amway people, which Scott is, even though he's not anti-MLM, but he's anti-Amway. He says that we have to get to the 18-year-olds first and tell them about the tool scam. He says you got to tell them about the tool scam. I say we have to tell them about the 99.7% loss rate. Whoever gets to that 18-year-old first, that's the way they're going to go. Because nobody is going to join a business if they know there's a 99.7% loss rate. Nobody.
You're right.
So that's all they need to know.
It should be taught in schools. They should also. Yeah.
I know a 16-year-old who told me, he's like, your dad's in multi-level marketing, and he said. And he just laughed. He was in disbelief. He said, doesn't he know there's a 99% loss rate? And he said to me, why don't you just tell him there's a 99% loss rate? And I said, I have 15 years ago. And he was just in disbelief that your dad knows there's a 99.7% loss rate and he's still in.
Because it's a cult. And that's the other aspect of this, because you'll see the people that are the most the biggest adherents, the most staunchest defenders and supporters of multi-level marketing are the very people who are losing the most money and have had to sell their house, trying to recruit anybody that goes into their taxi cab. Still, it's not speaking to their own son for a month, just because of what? Because of a multi-level marketing company, to how it affects people's relationships that bad, where it's you're going to be calling someone a stinker thinker, or you're sabotaging me when you're showing the facts. This isn't just about business anymore. This is the mind fuckery of it, where it's gone on that many years, over decades, still believing that there's a chance. I just can't give up. I must stay the course. There must be something wrong with me, or I haven't found the right person yet.
Yeah, it truly is bizarre. But yeah, I think we have to tell as many, especially younger people, as possible that there's this thing called multi-level marketing, 99% loss rate, and then they're not going to get into it.
Yeah, you're right. And I also want to have like the discussion of cults and coercive control, because that's how people, it's not even just multi-level marketing, because these same concepts that happen in multi-level marketing, they happen in all kinds of scams. So you'll see like a coach, like, or somebody saying, well, I'm going to be a coach. I'm going to coach you on how to be like, grow your home business and start your empire. Or like, if anybody's watched the latest documentary on Netflix, Escaping Twin Flames, so similar to Rank Makers, lots of MLM parallels. They use the same tactics, and a lot of this stuff is going online now, so it's different than Amway with the online component, but the same methods of control. The leaders believe, that they're chosen, they're godlike. People are giving gratitude all the time to the leaders for any kind of success. So it's like, oh, well, similar to Amway. It's like, oh, I went to Whistler. Thank goodness for Amway. It's like, that's not true.
Yeah, you went to Whistler because you're a school teacher. You're a full-time school teacher, and so is your wife. But yeah, I urge everybody out there, if you want to make a difference, let young people know about the 99% loss rate. But maybe even more importantly, do what Julie did, a great video where she showed how she emailed the politicians. Please email them and say, what are you doing? There's a 99.7% loss rate. Why are you promoting this company? And I like to just ring the office and I say, I'm very concerned. You're promoting MLMs and there is a documented 99.7% loss rate. What are you doing? And then at least then the secretary will be like, oh, I don't know that. And she'll look it up and say, oh, you're right. And then, but if enough people make that phone call, we'll get a result. I heard a politician talking last week, and this is a reasonably big politician, saying that the office gets about 15 to 20 complaints a day. That's it. So if 1% of your audience, 1% of Marco's audience was to ring these politicians and say, what on earth are you doing? There's a 99% loss rate. Knock it off, taking money and promoting it, or I will not vote for you. If they get enough calls like that, I guarantee you they're going to stop promoting these companies. They're going to stop taking the donations. So please, guys, ring them up, email them, but be really persistent. Keep emailing until you get a response. And if they don't respond, get them on the phone and say, what are you doing? Are you not aware of the fact there's a 99% loss rate? Are you just ignorant, or are you aware there's a 99% loss rate and you're taking money off them anyway? If they get enough phone calls like that, they don't need many. If an office is only getting 15 to 20 a day and we're ringing 5 or 10 times a day, we're going to get a result. So you guys, you don't have to start a channel and be well-spoken, well-educated or any of that. You just need to send 1 or 2 emails and make 1 or 2 phone calls. Because there's more of us than what there are of them. It's just that they've got more money and more resources and they're better organized than what we are.
And remember, stories sell too. So this is the same kind of the shit that you can learn inside multi-level marketing that you can apply outside. So if you do write, or you're elected official, if you're in Canada, you're going to say contact your member of parliament. It doesn't need to be lengthy. It can, but you could just fill out like the contact form or just find out their email and just say, hey, like this is my story. I was in multi-level marketing for 5 years. I cannot believe I was in a pyramid scheme. I'm so deeply ashamed of this. I lost thousands of dollars and I cannot believe that they're legal in this country. There is over a 99% loss rate. What are you going to do about it? I mean, you could just fire that off. And then like Glenn said, you can follow it up with a phone call. Not many people do this. And I do know from what I've been watching, because now that I'm on this like track of like contacting elected officials, I see that when they do bring up during discussions, like in the House of Commons or different committees where they're doing investigations, they do like to cite stories. So it could be, it's like, oh, so-and-so in Etobicoke, lost their house because of whatever. It might not happen. They might not bring it up right away, but it just requires, you just need enough people just to complain. And nobody really does. And I don't know why for so long I just kept putting it off. It really did feel quite overwhelming to me to contact someone. And so maybe that's a part of it. But I do encourage you, if you do feel it's like, you know what, I don't want to make content. I'm watching this. I don't want to leave a comment, but fuck it. I'm going to just like send a note to my member of parliament or wherever you are in the world. I really encourage you just to try it. And if you've been in multi-level marketing, you might find, found you right now. I felt the same way. I know exactly how you feel. When
Because I'll tell
sorry.
you what the difference is.
Yeah.
The people that work at the FTC do not need the majority of the public to vote for them. The politicians do. They need your vote. The people at the FTC, they couldn't care less if every single anti-MLM in the country is disgusted with their behavior, at the fact that they work for the FTC, they then got a job at Amway or Herbalife or Prime America. But the politicians, they can't afford to have people disgusted with them. So when they get a phone call saying, I'm disgusted that you're allowing Amway to continue, they care about that a lot more than what the FTC does, because they couldn't care less. All they care about is keeping the job at the FTC and then getting a job that's higher paid and even easier through Amway or Prime America or Herbalife. So I think it's more important to ring the politicians and email the politicians than to ring the FTC. And I think also Leanne Remy, she was in Scientology.
Mm-hmm.
She made a show about Scientology, and then people from Jehovah's Witness, they got together. It was an orchestrated campaign to message her nonstop. Because of those messages, she made a documentary series on Jehovah's Witness, who, by the way, have less victims than we do from MLM. So we need to do the same thing. I encourage you to email her and say, please, MLMs are just the same as Scientology, very similar to Jehovah's Witness, same techniques, same strategies. Please make a series on it, because they're the sort of things that are going to kill this corrupt business model.
Yes. I was surprised at how easy it was to send an email to my member of parliament. And then once I had the template, I just copied and pasted it. And it was funny because it was ironic. It was the same thing as prospecting people. I just put it out. So I've talked about this in another video. I am going to be following up with my member of parliament because I haven't heard back from him yet. So I'm going to email and then I'm going to phone him. But the other members of parliament who met with the direct phone. Oh yeah, what's that?
I would encourage you to ring the office and say, "Are you aware that there's a 99% loss rate?" They're going to say, "I don't." If they say, "I don't know," say, "Okay, I'm going to call back until you look it up. Please look it up." The information can be found in this court transcript, Amway versus Beer 2006. And just keep doing that, and they eventually will look it up. And it's because it's so ridiculous that politicians are supporting a company with a 99.7% loss rate. It's obscene. It really is. I mean, this is a political fix. Amway pay these politicians, and the politicians be quiet. There's people in the world who actually, and a lot of people think that they don't think much of political lobbying, but political lobbying works. That's the reason why tobacco companies do it. That's the reason why alcohol companies do it. That's the reason why pharmaceutical companies do it. And that's the reason why companies like Amway and Prime America do it, because it works. And the only way that it's not going to work is if the public become aware of it and start calling them out and stop voting for these people who take this money, because it's dirty blood money is what it is.
Yeah, it is. It is. I'm going to read some of these comments here. David G had said, I remember cashiers started posting on Reddit how the Huns would insert their unique cards, take a picture, and then remove it and use their regular card. Oh, yeah, I could totally see that. I would have done that with Monate. MLM is saturated, so there will be fighting over the dwindling customer base. And Monica says, red flag, the moment a business asks me for my why, getting too personal or saying we are a family. Yes. And Julie says, I think the MLM people who are losing money but still believing it could work is because that is the easiest way to not face the facts. Yeah. If someone can win, why not me? That's exactly how I felt when I was in Monate. I thought that I could win. It's so twisted. Natasha says, if my 9-to-5 told me to cut communication with anyone who disagreed with the company, I could file a complaint with the labor board. And how Monica says, that's another thing too, how people can easily cut their loved ones over an MLM. Yeah, I might do a live, Julie, about the twin flames to rank makers. I had a lot of thoughts on that. That'd be good. Yeah. All right, caught up with the comments there. Right. Do you have anything else you'd like to talk about, Glenn?
Yeah, I just think I'm urging everybody to right now. Scott Johnson, so not Scott Johnson, Marco's doing a live, and the home business king is in there, acting like agreeing with Marco, and he's please get in the comments and start telling him why, Vince, why are you blaming victims of MLMs? Please stop doing it, because he's in there agreeing with Marco, and sort of he's got his he's making comments in there that he thinks that Marco wants to hear, and he thinks that Marco's audience want to hear. So I urge everybody to get in the comments and just call this guy out, because this guy's a fraud. He's changing his opinions on who he's speaking to. This guy to me is the biggest con artist, one of the biggest con artists you could ever see, and that's coming from someone who spends a lot of time looking at MLM con artists. It's just bizarre, really. It truly is bizarre.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're living in sort of an age of the fake guru, and I think Vince has figured out that he's tried being a prison guard, he's tried network marketing, he's tried telemarketing, he's tried door-to-door sales. This is easier. Telling people that you can help them create an empire is easier than all that stuff, which is just staggering. But yeah, please guys, I actually think the best video you've ever made was the one about the politicians, where you wrote. Actually, could you play that on the screen now? Because I had a look the other day, and not many people have actually seen it, which is a tragedy.
Yeah. Let's get on here. I'm just pulling it up here. I don't remember if it was a live or not.
It was a short.
Oh, okay. It's a short. Okay. Oh, yeah. Contacting all the MPs who met with the direct sellers. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think that's almost the best video that you've ever done. And it's tragic so few have seen it.
I post a lot on I don't think I posted that one on TikTok, but I posted it on Instagram. Some of my Instagram ones gets more views, and then some of my TikToks get a lot more views. Okay, let me just pull this up. Shit, how do I do this? It's like it plays right away. Sorry, just hang on. I've got it to Tragically Hip too. So if you're Canadian, you're gonna listen to some Tragically Hip. How do I do this to play it and right away? Oh, there, I stopped it. Okay, there. Okay. Now I got to figure out. Thank you, Julie. Have a good night. Just show this. Where is it? Here it is. All right, this is it. So I found out which MPs met with the DSA Canada and have sent them all emails, including my MP. So this is it.
I don't know how old I am. I'm on my belly. From the 16th century, conquistador, I think. They don't know how old I am. They found armor in my belly, flashing out a machine revving tension, lashing out at machine revving tension. Rushing by the machine revving tension.
So there you go. And so I did hear back from Karen Vecchio. She was shown on there, and she actually, I think it was actually her that responded to me. I see Stephanie Cusey. She's now if you're in Canada and you know anything about what's going on with politics, she's been part of asking people questions, investigating the ArriveCan app. She's been really good at questioning people. So I think that she has integrity. and I want to follow up with her. Not right away. I want to just give it time and like draw the parallels between what's going on with this whole Arrive scam, this whole thing that's going on with this debacle, draw parallels between with GC Strategies, Coridex, and Dalian, if you know what I'm talking about, because I think that if she knew who she was talking with by endorsing the Direct Selling Association, it's the same thing that which she would be endorsing with this whole like fraud thing that's going on. And then there was another guy mentioned on there. His name is Yasir Navik, and I don't think he responded to me. I think it was one of his office, one of whoever, maybe administrative assistant, but they were pretty snotty in their response to me. They repeated portions of my email back to me and was like explaining to me the difference between multi-level marketing and pyramid schemes. So I want to write back to him too. So here we go. And I'm just going to read some comments here. Maybe we can like wrap this up. Natasha said, oh yeah, I had read that one. Thank you, Natasha. And Monica says, we are poking the bear. Love it. Yes. So Glenn, thank you so much for being on here. You have last words. What would you like to leave anybody with?
It's just a pleasure to be on here. I think, as I've been telling Scott, and I haven't been able to convince Scott yet that you're one of the best YouTubers on YouTube, but I'll keep trying. But it's worth a look, actually, when Julie went on to Building Fortunes Radio, which can be found on my channel. Julie did an amazing job of interviewing Scott and getting information out of Scott. It was information that I wasn't aware of and Peter wasn't aware of. The fact that me and Peter both thought that Scott just hated the Amway tool scam, but his problem was that they were making lots of money and pretending it was coming from Amway sales. He still thought that the Amway material was good quality materials and beneficial. I mean, I didn't say much during it because I was just in shock. I was in so much shock that I couldn't speak. I was in absolute shock. And then the bizarre thing about it was I had this lovely conversation between Julie and Scott, and I'm thinking, oh, there you go. They're now friends. Scott's going to say that there's now 3 people that understand MLMs, me, Seen Munger, and Julie. And then he called her a nut job. He doubled down on it. I said, do you still consider Julie to be a nut job? And he says, yep, she's a nut job. And I was again in disbelief. It was the most puzzling hour of audio I've ever heard. That's what I mean. If you met Scott out, you'd say he's a nice guy, wouldn't you? If you take all the MLM talk away, you'd think this is a nice family guy, but he didn't. He had an hour to disagree with you on stuff, and you guys were agreeing with everything. He was agreeing with you. You were agreeing with him. Lovely conversation. Then he called you a nut job. So,
and I think that's a good way to illustrate what happens when you're in a cult, because it's just like you. This is the behavior. You know, it's sad. But you just have to allow a person to talk, and they reveal what's going on. And then if you're on the outside of this, you can see, you're like, oh my God, like, why would you respond that way? Why do you have such contempt for people? Why do you have such a disdain for people? Why do you need to call them names? There's nothing to prove.
And the bizarre part of it is, initially Scott's critique of anti-MLM creators was they didn't understand the tool scam. They didn't know about Dexter Yeager, but people like Marco and yourself have done critiques of them, very, very good critiques. Even someone like Heather Chi, she's done very, very good critiques of Bill Britt and Dexter Yeager, and he still calls them nut jobs. So I don't understand why that is. But yeah, actually, I'll tell you, Oprah Winfrey couldn't have done and wouldn't have done a better job interviewing Scott than what you did. The interviewing skills were just outstanding that day. It was, I urge everyone to watch it because Julie shone and, very, very interesting. I think it's the most interesting BFR I've ever listened to, that one. So,
well, thank you. I think it was important to encourage Scott to talk about his experience. And I wanted to kind of probe to find out how he thinks about things and hear because the thing is that when you've been in one MLM, it's representative of all of them. And even more so, it's like when you've been in one cult, they all follow the same playbook. So just how he's going to be describing things, like I could see myself when what he was describing, not all the things, but general concepts. And I knew that other people could too. So I'm hoping that, there might be, people in his audience that are, that think, oh, multi-level marketing is fantastic. But eventually people start questioning, like, I hope. I'd like to hope that eventually all people start questioning. I still hope that your dad will start questioning, but
Yeah, I think my dad's a lost cause. I'll tell you what, it's very easy for me to talk to Scott and Peter because Dad is 20 times more of an Amway believer than Scott ever was. So Scott's sort of a mellow version of my dad, pretty much. So the conversations, if you heard the conversations that me and Dad have, that would shock you. That would blow you away. The conversations that me and Scott have are very, very low key, very casual, very rational. So yeah, I think people are surprised that I'm sort of not surprised when he's saying stuff, but it's compared to my dad, he's making perfect sense. Everything he's saying is just perfect, logical sense.
Yeah.
In comparison, because my dad, you won't find a more hardcore believer than my dad. I honestly don't think one exists.
Can I ask you something, Glenn? Like, and you don't need to answer this if you could just pass it. But why do you persist in speaking with Scott?
Because I think he's actually got a very good message. He's 100% correct about the Amway tool scam. Not many people understand how big a part of the Amway business this tool scam is. Scott does. The problem is because Scott has this approach of emailing people the way he emailed Vince, people aren't listening to that message. So I remember when I found MLM content, I was so excited. And then I became very upset and disappointed that nobody was talking about Amway. Nobody was talking about Dexter Yeager. I remember CC Suarez, who I'm a big fan of. She didn't know who he was. Someone mentioned him in a clip, in a live, and she's gone, who the fuck is Dexter Yeager? She called him Dexter Yeager. And I'm like, what? If you were studying MLM history, he's the number one man to understand. And that's what Scene Munger said as well. He said it's unbelievable that Dexter Yeager doesn't have a Wikipedia page. And he called him one of the most audacious con artists in American history, and nobody knows who he is. But I think that's because the Amway Corporation made a decision to keep these videos off YouTube. So I know that. So that's why I'm so desperate to find as many Amway tapes and VHSs, CDs as I can and stick them on YouTube. So yeah, if anyone's out there and they've got a huge collection of Amway VHS tapes and CDs, please send them my way. I want to upload them and then I'll return them to you because they speak for themselves. You don't need, if you just see some of the things they say, it speaks for itself. So yeah, I'm hoping that Scott can sort of tone down the rudeness and the aggression, because then people will listen to some of the really important things he's got to say.
Mm-hmm.
Because do you agree that the Amway tool scam is something that most people miss?
Absolutely. There's so many pieces of information that would really help in deprogramming people that have been in multi-level marketing and just warning others. This is so much of multi-level marketing has fashioned itself on Amway. It's all fashioned on Amway. But then the whole tool scam has now taken on a life of its own with all these other coaching programs, which isn't just restricted to multi-level marketing, but now it's life coaching. And now it's coaching coaches to coach coaches kind of thing. A lot of that stems from that Amway tool scam. That's what I've seen anyway.
And the problem is the young kids think they're listening to this sort of really new age advanced. It's not. It's they're copying what was done in the 1970s, which is bizarre.
It's all recycled. It's so old. They think it's brand new. It's like, oh, this isn't. This is something that's. It's so new. This isn't like from 2010. They'll say that like it's a long time ago, or from like the 2000s. And I know that was what really struck me was I had already been out of multi-level marketing. I had listened to Life After MLM podcast interview with Roberta with Sean Munger or Scene Munger. And I couldn't understand it. To me, it was too complex. I was still unpacking what I'd been part of, and I had to listen to it again. And I was like, what? How come I didn't know this? So I agree. and I want to just give you a big shout out. Anybody that is, liking anti-MLM content, I encourage you to go and check out Glenn's channel, MLM is Fraud. And I'm going to put the link, I'll tag him in the title of this afterwards. And I'll also put a link in the description, and give him a subscribe, give him a follow. This is, with anti-MLM, I've said this before, you're like, a comment is content. It takes one match to start a fire. You don't know. Exactly. Your comment can be the thing that is like, it tips someone over and to wake them up. Just, giving him a subscribe can push his content out. You don't know. Someone might just come across one of his pieces of content and look at it. And that can be the thing that, adds to them waking up. It might not be the thing. It always takes a lot of things. But I encourage you, if you are, about creating awareness, give him a follow. He's doing a lot of really good work. He's got such patience. His dad has been in Amway for years, and he does really unique work. And I'm so happy that you were on again tonight, Glenn. I love talking with you.
Yeah, I just read Leslie's comments. Spot on.
Let's get this up here. You can read it out. You can read it out, Glenn.
The most important thing people need to get about the 99% loss rate is 99% have to lose. Rather than believing you're a good salesperson / work hard, you can be in the top 1%. 99% must lose for the 1% to win. So compare that with a football club. The top player doesn't earn $2 million a year because the other 23 players on the roster are paying him. He gets that money from TV and sponsorships and people that sit in the grandstand. This is the other way around. This is the top guy is getting the money off the other 23 who are trying to be like him. It's unbelievable, really. I mean, but the 99%, that's the key. People need to understand. And 99% of people, there's only one type of business that has a 99% loss rate, and that's multi-level marketing. It's the worst of the worst of the worst. That's it. That's all they need to know. And, if you've got kids, make sure you let them know that if anyone ever talks about this stuff to you, there's a 99% loss rate.
Yeah. And it's like, and just like what you emphasize, what Leslie said, is that even if you are successful, it's not like how you pointed out about being a football club, getting sponsorships. The people are you're hurting people. People are being defrauded. They're hurting. Your vacation, your financial freedom isn't because, you're working harder or you have a better mindset. It's because the other people are losing. Your downline, the people that you say, oh, I love you. You're we're a family. We're a community of like-minded people. We're all about personal development. You're hurting them. You're purposefully, strategically manipulating them. And if you're in any multi-level marketing, there's emotional abuse going on. And you're probably doing it to your downline.
They know that 99% of people are going to lose, but they don't care. The mentality is very, very simple. 99% of people are going to lose, but I'm going to win. Therefore, I don't care. That is it in a nutshell. And Leslie is from Melbourne. There you go. I'm from Melbourne as well. It's a very small world.
That's so good.
If you live in Melbourne, there's a high percentage chance that Leslie has actually been prospected by my father. That's highly likely because Melbourne's not that big, and if she catches taxis, then there you go. She's probably been prospected.
Lisa, thank you very much. Just popped over to Glenn's channel and subscribe. Teamwork makes a dream work. There we go. Thank you very much, Lisa.
Yeah, I'm about to start working on I'm getting yesterday's BFR, Building Fortunes Radio up, where Scott Johnson's son actually appeared. We were talking about this is hard to believe, but it's a real true thing, and they still exist today. Amway youth camps, Dexter Yeager youth camps, on the Dexter Yeager principles. Even though Dexter Yeager is dead, they still run these classes even here in Australia, where diamonds mentor children as young as 12. Scott Johnson's son attended 3 of these, and amazingly, yesterday, Scott had a lot of interesting, intelligent things to say. He actually felt that his son was groomed at this camp, but he then said that he didn't regret sending his son to this camp or these camps, which, again, I find amazing. But you couldn't make this stuff up. An MLM camp for children as young as 12. It's bizarre. But what's interesting about this, it's very, very hard to find information on these camps. I've searched and searched and searched and only have been able to find a couple of pieces of information. One of the pieces I found was a guy, apparently one of the guest speakers was called Diamond Dave. So you can imagine what Diamond Dave would have been telling these children about.
I just think of all this warped personal development stuff, this law of attraction, the secret, and it's like you got to believe. Oh, it's so gross. This is cult. This is cult indoctrination, targeting the kids. How messed up is that? And it's so sad when I hear him, or you know how you're describing how he said his son was groomed, but you know what? It was a good thing.
He had a lot of fun, and then he got the son on. I think he was frustrated that Peter was frustrated I was making too much of a deal of it. He said, "Oh, we spent too much time on this already. Camps that happened, I think he said 1,000 years ago from a man that's dead." And I'm like, no. These camps happen today. Dexter Yeager camps still happen today. They're still getting diamonds to go and talk to kids and fill their minds with garbage today. This isn't old. This is happening today.
Wow.
But yeah, Amway's smart enough to know that we're going to sell these camps to people in Amway, but we're not going to advertise it publicly, because if we did, people like Marco, CC Suarez, Heather Chi, and Julie Anderson would rip them to pieces. So we're going to do this in an almost underground sort of fashion. So yeah, they've never publicly, Amway's got a lot of videos they put on YouTube. They've never done one about the Amway camps.
I've never heard of that. That is so messed up. And you know what's weird is like how, you know, mentioning we need to get to the kids before they're 18. And I had misinterpreted it. Like when you were explaining it, I wanted to just go back to that and acknowledge it. Cause I was like thinking like swooping in people in multi-level marketing, getting to the kids while they're 18, because I've heard that, but that wasn't what you were talking about. It was like, but Amway is getting in when they're 12.
Yes. And they would have learnt about, you know, Diamond Dave, he probably won't even use the term Amway. He'll say the business.
Yeah.
But he'll talk about how you can't let people steal your dream. And a lot of people tried to talk me out of things, and I stood firm. And that's why I have 25 Ferraris, 10 houses. I've been to the Super Bowl in a super box. You know, I've been on holidays all around the world. And then the kids are going to take this in, they're going to listen, and then it's going to be a hell of a lot easier to get them to stick in Amway in 5 years' time when they're 18.
The indoctrination has already begun, especially if they have a parent in Amway. And then you see now it's like parents like one of the parents, it could be both, but one is on social media, is in a certain multi-level marketing company, and is using their children or their child in their marketing. That's messed up too.
Yeah.
Monica says, another thing is, how can people be comfortable having their paycheck depend on a downline? The constant fear of people leaving. How are you not stressed with that? You know, what I've seen is that
I'll tell you why it is. It's
sure.
It's because they're told that you only have to do the work once. So once you hit a rank, you hit the rank, and then you've got $100,000 passive income for life. Even if you never work again, you've got $100,000 passive income for life. Dad said he got to $1,000 a week for a month or two. And he said, I've got the equivalent to a $1 million asset. Now, the way he figured out this was, in order for me to make $1,000 a week from bank interest, I would need to have $1 million in the bank. What he didn't count on was that every single person in that downline then quit, and his income went back down to zero. So it was never a passive residual income. It was a very, very, very risky, I'm not sure how to describe it, but it was very, very, very insecure payment that he was receiving, and it was dependent upon the downline continuing to buy products, even though none of them were making any money. Now, not many people are going to continue to buy those overpriced Amway products for long while they're losing money, which is all of them. And that's what happened. His downline quit, and his $1 million asset went to zero. But yeah, nobody's concerned about the paycheck depending on the downline, because that's not the way they see it. They're taught that you do the work once and then you can relax forever.
And,
That's maybe
and
the biggest
yeah,
lie of Amway.
yeah. And, I'll add onto this is that people believe that there is something wrong with their mindset. New levels have new devils. So when the inevitable happens, because there's that 50 to 80% churn rate each year where people are quitting or they're moving to another multi-level marketing company, that we're also taught all these thought stopping cliches. It's like, oh, well, you got to a certain rank, but then you let your foot off the gas pedal. That's why people quit. You weren't showing up as a leader. Or then we're also told, and that the team that got you to your first rank isn't going to be the team that's with you when you cross the finish line. A lot of people, they say they're going to be there until the end, but they're not. You're going to need to recruit a whole other team. You're going to have to start all over. So seeing that you're in a pyramid scheme, seeing that this isn't okay, you think that this is the only way, that this is just part of it. So there is that fear of people leaving, and it's very stressful, but it's all masked with a horrendous amount of activity. So even when people are like getting up, in these higher ranks, you're getting like closer to the top of the pyramid and they still haven't woken up. They really believe that, their mindset is so good. They hire coaches. They're attending masterminds. They're giving even more money out. They're having to work at different company events. So with at Mon8, they'd have to attend like these executive director meetings. They're so busy, and it's because they feel, even the people at the top, everything is their fault. So they'll be blaming their downline. The downline is blaming themselves. And even the leaders, they're blaming themselves too. They can't see what's right in front of them. They can't see that they're in a pyramid scheme. They can't see that the stress is because of this structure. They really see that it's because of themselves and their mindset.
Exactly.
Leslie says, I'm in Elwood. There you go.
I don't want to give it away. I'm in the West. I'm in Essendon area.
And Monica says, but what if they leave, you drop a rank? Exactly. And that's what happens. And then there's always an answer for anything that happens. It's like, well, this is business. This is entrepreneurship. You don't think there's bumps along the way?
The hardest part isn't getting the rank. The hardest part is staying at the rank. That's what people don't understand. They're taught that you do it once, and they compare it to, you write the book once and then you get paid for the book forever. They compare an Amway downline to writing a book, and it could not be any more different.
Yeah.
It's not, you don't do the work once. It's like a bath. I mean, a downline is like a bathtub and with no plug. There's water leaving constantly. You got to continue to put water in. And if you can't put more water in that's going out, then you're going to go back down to zero. And most people who reach ranks can't put more water in the water that's leaving, because you got to understand 99% of people are losing. You're literally going to lose 99% of your downline. So you've got to be recruiting constantly.
And, if you're in multi-level marketing and you're happening to watch this and you're like, I don't understand why you keep saying 99% of people losing. How are you losing? So most of the products are being purchased from the distributors. So when you have a flash sale or there's a Black Friday sale, because Black Friday is coming up like in the US, and that will be a huge, that's going to be like almost like Christmas or bigger than Christmas, Black Friday. All these sales that are pre-released, you'll be like, get on my exclusive VIP list to my customers. You're going to be working so hard trying to, get the word out to the customers that you do have, and your upline and your company is going to be releasing special deals and special like gift sets. It can only be, purchased now, and they're going to be encouraging you to purchase them because they're such an amazing discount and you love the products anyway. Most of those sales, they're coming from you, distributors. Not, you can have customers, you can have people on auto ship, but most of the sales, the bulk of them are coming from the distributors. You're paying the top. That's the money is going to the top. You're not in a regular job where the money is coming from the top down, where everybody's getting paid. You're getting paid. That interview I did with Robert Fitzpatrick, he was saying how like the extreme money transfer from the bottom to the top. It's not only just the money is flowing up. It's that the sale that you make, say you do have a customer on auto ship, or you get a new customer that's a retail customer, most of that commission should go to you, but it's not. Most of you're getting a very tiny piece of that commission. Most of that commission is going up to the top. It's flipped. It's opposite. It should be you get most of that commission, and then smaller amounts go up to the top. Say if you were going to compare it to another job, like a manager, and then an executive manager, and then like the CEO. This is why it's a pyramid scheme. This is why you're losing. Why most people, one of the many reasons why over 99% of people have to lose. That's the only way this thing works. It's not actual sales. It's all losses. And it's reframed as sales, as a direct selling channel, as a direct selling industry, as network marketing, as social selling, as social sharing.
Yeah, you're spot on. Absolutely. It's just, the problem is the products are so overpriced that you could not sell them to the general public. The only way to sell, the only person who's going to buy those products at that price are people who think that by buying them, this is going to make you a multi-millionaire down the track. That's the only reason why people buy them, because they think they're going to make them rich somehow down the track.
And this, you just brought up a really good point too, is where the products are so overpriced for retail sales, which is why it makes so much sense to get in as a distributor, because you get a discount of, it could be 30%, like it was with Monet. So people say, but I just signed up for the discount. It's a problem.
They used to mock and ridicule people for being price checkers. Whenever I would compare the price of it, I'm like, this product is 4 times the price. Dad would laugh and call me a price checker. Being a price checker in his mind was like the biggest insult. The stupidest thing a person could be would be a price checker. And there was one of the, I can't think of the guy's name, it was an Australian diamond. And he said, I almost quit this business because of the price of the toothpaste. How stupid would that have been? And it was met to a thunderous laughter from the audience.
Jesus Christ.
And he's saying, are you going to be that stupid that you're going to quit a multi-million-dollar opportunity because of the price of the toothpaste? And then he's going, wake up. And everyone's cheered.
You know, this is something else that I've seen, or I reflect on and look at a multi-level marketing, is just that it's the contempt and the disdain for people, always talking down to people in order to make a point. And it's like, you shouldn't have to do that. This is obscuring facts. You want to be thinking logical. It's like, what is this business? It's like, oh, I would quit this business over the price of toothpaste. It's like, what the fuck are you saying, really? You're just obfuscating. You're trying to make people feel embarrassed and ashamed. You're calling people names, price checker, like you're peacocking around, like you're like this bigger person, like you're important, like you're a businessman. It's like, what? Drop the act. Why do you have to walk around like this? Why do you have to act like this? It's all a facade. This isn't a business. You don't talk to people like that.
What an ignorant thing to do, to check the price of something that you're going to buy. What an ignorant, stupid thing to do. I mean, I can't think of another example where somebody would be laughed, mocked, and ridiculed for comparing the price of something.
And it's prudent. That's what you do. Like, you compare your price. It's like, but then, you know, you're speaking with in a cult. You're taught to do that. So it's like anything to navigate you from seeing the truth. So if you were going to like make a budget to see how much money you're tracking your expenses, of course it's important to track, like, or to look at the prices of items, but that's considered like, it's considered worthy of ridicule. And nobody is worthy of ridicule. Why would you think that that's an okay way to treat a human being? But in a cult, it is considered okay, because people really are beneath you. You're either in or you're out. You're with us or you're a hater. You're a stinker thinker. You're a loser. You're trying to sabotage me. Oh, you're just one of those people that are going to try to bring me down. You become like the 5 people you spend the most time with.
But the bottom line is the products are so overpriced that you have to find a way to stop people checking the prices. Because if they check the prices, they're going to see that they are so outrageously overpriced. I mean, I think you'll find that no other business has a higher margin on products than what Amway do. Amway's margins are absolutely astronomical. Things like vitamins, when made in mass, cost almost nothing to make. The other companies can make these astronomical margins on vitamins and supplements, and they're a fourth of the price of Amway. So how much money is Amway making? They're making an astronomical amount of money. So yeah, so the way you stop people from checking the prices is to mock and to ridicule. That's actually a big part of the strategy is to mock and ridicule people who say sensible things, common sense things. Yeah, and I mean, but I think the bottom line is, I said to Scott the other day, when this business about, I want to go back. Oh, here we go. The Home Business King's in your chat. What you say about me? I'll tell you, the Home Business King, please come on to MLM is fraud. I really want to debate you. You claim to be someone that can help people create an empire. I want to know what empire you have and which people you've helped create an empire. Which people who, because of your advice, had one hamburger shop and now have 55 hamburger shops. Who are these people? But yeah, I find it bizarre that the Home Business King again doesn't like Scott Johnson. Scott Johnson thought your last video was outstanding. He gave it 8 out of 10. I've tried with Scott, and so's Julie. We never get 8 out of 10s, do we, Julie? I get 1s and 2s. Mad Dog Sports got 2 out of 10. The Business King got 8 out of 10. Paul Marco gets 1s and 2s. So yeah, I'd love to interview I say this sincerely, I really want to interview the Home Business King, because I'm just fascinated to know what are the secrets to creating an empire. Because all he seems to talk about is being a prison guard, telemarketing, selling door to door, being in an MLM that was closed down by the authorities. I wouldn't say this stuff to your face. Well, why is that? Let's get on a stream and we can talk, and I'll say the same stuff. I'm not actually saying anything negative. I'm asking you. You're the Home Business King. You're saying you can help people create an empire from the comfort of their own home. Which people?
And here's the thing. So when you're scamming people and you're justifying it, that's a problem. Victim blaming is not okay. It's not an excuse. And your success, if you have been a part of multi-level marketing and scamming people, defrauding people, it's not okay. So that's where this is coming from. I wanted to read this comment from Leslie. I'm a real estate agent, and there are so many parallels between MLMs and the legitimate sales industry. I'd love to discuss this with you guys if you're open to it. It's wild. There are so many layers. I would love to learn more about this. I've seen a lot of people who have left multi-level marketing and they go into real estate. And I don't know if they've like deprogrammed from being in multi-level marketing. That's the weird part. There's also that one MLM that's EXP Realty. So I would be very curious about that.
But yeah, so if the Home Business King has helped people, he can say, okay, I helped this guy in Texas. He had one hamburger shop called Good Burger. He then spoke to me, and because of my coaching, he now owns 50 of them. That's fine. And then I will retract my statements calling him a fake guru. But unless there's people that have created an empire because of his words of wisdom, then he is a fake guru. It's that simple. Either there are people who have empires now because of Vince, or there aren't. There's no gray area here. You've either helped people create empires or you haven't. And it's not personal. I'm just stating facts.
Yeah. Yeah. There's been a lot of people defrauded, broken relationships. And you just can't get away with this stuff anymore.
The bottom line is this. Yeah.
Just highlighting Nessa's here. Keep spreading the truth, guys. MLMs are toxic.
The bottom line is this. The most common type of home business in the world today are multi-level marketing companies. So if Vince wants to, I'm going to assume for a moment, he sincerely wants to help young people and people in general start a home business. He needs to know about the vast majority of these home business opportunities. And he needs to know, if someone comes to him and says, what do you think of this company? What do you think of the Amway Corporation? He needs to say, well, they start you off on a 3% commission. So you can't become rich from just selling the products to people. That's not a possibility. There's a 99% loss rate. The diamonds make most of their money selling tapes, books, speaking at seminars, CDs. So if you're going to succeed in the Amway Corporation, you either need to have a huge downline or you need to start one of these businesses. But if Scott's saying, I'm not a statistics man, I don't know what the data is, then that's not very helpful. Because I guarantee you, if I was to reach out today to someone like, who's the guy who was a franchising expert who Marco spoke to? Was it Douglas Brooks? No.
Doug Brooks?
Yeah, if I said to him, I'm thinking about purchasing a Subway, what do you think of that? He would say, okay, this percentage of Subways succeed. This is the average return on investment per year. You've got, he would he would know all the statistics back to front, and he would then compare the Subway with the Wendy's, the McDonald's, the Burger King, the Kentucky Fried Chicken, and then I could make a decision, an informed decision, and give myself the best possible chance of having the highest possible return on my investment. But someone is saying, "Oh, I don't care about statistics." If you're going to do the home,
it's a dead giveaway. It's like, and if you're watching this and you're, considering, you're like, well, I'm starting to, for some reason, I started to look at anti-MLM content, but my mom is in an MLM, or my dad said that I really should get in one, and you're starting to actually do your research. This is a good way to critically think when there's, it's this purposeful distraction and this poo-pooing of statistics and facts. Don't look at that. Just listen to me. I'm going to speak I'm going to speak quite reasonably to you. Everything I say isn't really going to make sense, but just trust me on this.
Because
don't trust anyone on this.
Sophisticated business people, they make business decisions using calculators and data and facts.
Yeah.
And they know that when they buy a business, this is the statistical chance of it succeeding. This is the average return on investment. Business people use the word ROI a lot, return on investment. That's like the key word they use. People like Vince don't. It's all about emotion and feelings and buzzwords about mindset. You go to speak to a highly sophisticated financial person. They don't talk about mindsets and all this sort of garbage and manifesting. This is pseudoscience. Sorry.
Lisa says, that seems like ridiculing common sense is a tactic MLMs use a lot. Don't overthink it. Just jump in. If you're broke, that's why you need to take out a credit card to buy or start. Exactly. That's a lot of MLM coaches use that line, is that if you're broke, this is why you need to invest, because you wouldn't be broke. So you need to, really invest when it hurts, because that's going to motivate you to take more action.
Vince has just said he doesn't have time to play with
banning him. He's gone. I don't have time.
No. Please don't ban him. Please keep him.
No, he's banned. I have a zero tolerance policy on this, Glenn. I apologize, but
please do me a favor and leave him on, because I think it's insightful what he's saying. Please.
No, he's gone.
Okay. He said that he doesn't have time to play with 98-pound pencil necks.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let's say someone's a 50-pound pencil neck. That doesn't mean that they're not going to give you good advice on starting a home-based business. The person who's a 40-pound pencil neck, he might be the guy with the best information, the most knowledge. How does a person having big muscles like Vince having big muscles doesn't assist his ability to give good information about starting a business? And the fact that he's saying that means that he can't debunk what I'm saying. All he can do is, mind you, he's never even seen me. It's a ridiculous thing to say. A normal, sophisticated business person would not make that comment, which is why I wish you'd kept it on the screen, because it highlights the kind of person that he is. Because on Marco's channel, people are saying in the comment that he seems like a really good guy. He's, they like him. He's got a good personality. I think he's charmed them over. But because I've called him out and stated a few facts and asked him, please name a person that you've helped, suddenly he's turning to these ridiculous insults.
Yeah. My thing here is that I have a zero tolerance policy for cult apologists or that kind of behavior, because it's important to create a safe space for people like me to come out, and that kind of thing can chase people away. That's why. But it's on, it'll be here that we've talked about it, but whatever. This is just like, he's one of those.
Those comments really prove, though, that he's not a nice guy.
Yeah.
He's not what he's pretending to be on Marco's channel. He pretended, most people in Marco's life thought he was a really nice guy, a little bit misinformed, but a really nice guy who, but those comments prove that he's not a nice guy. It's not just him being misinformed. He is deliberately deceiving people. He's trying to create an impression that he can help people create an empire. He can't. He's never done that. And the fact that he would respond to me asking, I wasn't being rude to him. I wasn't insulting him. I was simply asking him to name one person that you've helped create an empire. If there was one, he would have named that person. He would have said, Good Burger franchise had one outlet, and because of my advice, I now have 52. He couldn't do that. Instead, he insulted me.
And that's what people in multi-level marketing do, because there's no, it gets like, it just escalates to like really defensiveness. And then it has to be like a personal attack. It needs to be insulting. It's a cult playbook. This is what happens, you know? And I know some people, they can tolerate it. I don't. I'm like, no, this is my fucking boundary. You know, I don't, if somebody crosses a line, I'm like, I just don't have the tolerance for it.
If Vince is still listening, please come on to MLM's fraud and we can have a live debate. You can insult me. I don't care. You want to make silly comments, call me a pencil neck, go for it. Don't care. I think when you make those comments, you're making yourself look foolish, not me. But yeah, please come on. Come on to Building Fortunes Radio, or just do a one-on-one interview with me. I ask you. But he won't, though, because he can't name one single person that has an empire today because of his advice. Not one. A person like that does not exist on the planet. It's talking nonsense.
You're doing good work by calling out these tactics that people use to scam people. And so good for you, Glenn.
Appreciate that.
Right.
Actually, it might be a good time to cut it because Marco is actually going through yesterday's BFR with me, Peter, and Vince.
All right. Well, then you can head over there.
Me, Peter, and Scott. This is an unbelievably interesting interview. You get to listen to Scott Johnson's son. I'm going to be re-uploading it to my channel probably today or tomorrow without Marco's commentary, so you can sort of see like the whole thing. Marco speeds it up a bit. He skips parts, but you can watch the whole entire interview on MLM is Fraud tomorrow. But really, I got off the interview and I was just in disbelief at what I'd heard. You know, things that I wouldn't have thought possible in MLM camp for children, but they exist. Truth is stranger than fiction, Julie. And
yeah,
I think yesterday
it really is.
Proves it. If you were making a movie about a business cult that paid off all the politicians and had youth camps for 12-year-olds, you'd go, that's too far-fetched. But it's reality, so.
Yeah, it is. And I just want to, DC was wondering who is speaking. So this is Glenn. So I don't know if you've been part of the whole like lore of Building Fortunes Radio, but Glenn has been on that channel talking with Scott and Peter, and has been on Marco's channel. So this is, and his dad has been in Amway for a long time, like over 20 years.
23 years.
23 years. So that's who I'm speaking with. And Leslie says, yep, even Marco said he liked Vince at some stage during his live with them.
Yeah, Marco, as good as he is, he was fooled by Vince's charms. But I think the comments he made calling me a pencil neck, that showed his true character.
I know in when people like speak about Ray and they're like, but he's such a nice guy. He really helped me. I've never seen him, do anything wrong. And it's like, oh, I've been called an uncoachable, negative demon, hater, vibrates at a low frequency. It's like it's like saying, well, this worked for me. I made all this money. I really benefited. It's like, what about all the people at the bottom? What about all the people that have been defrauded? What about the people that have been abused? It's like, it's very challenging for people to see the reality. Because when you're outside of this, you want to see the good in people. And there's benefit to that. I want to see the good in people too, but you also need to see the truth. And the truth can be really uncomfortable. So is he pro MLM or anti-MLM? Glenn is anti-MLM. Huge anti-MLM. And David G says, LOL, those types of men watch WWE wrestlers trash talk each other as highbrow debating. Ashton Kutcher said the same thing about Danny Masterson. That's a good one. So are you going to go over to Marco's live now?
Yeah, I might head. Really appreciate the chat. And if Vince, please, Vince, come debate me, just me and you, or on Building Fortunes Radio with Scott and Peter. Because Scott is one of your biggest fans you have. He gave your last video where you victim blamed MLM losers. He gave it 8 out of 10. I could only dream of one of my ambitions in life is to get an 8 out of 10 off Scott. Julie is awesome and she can't get an 8 out of 10. Marco can't get one. So you're doing well with Vince, with Scott Johnson, if no one else, Vince. But yeah, please come on. I welcome the debate. I'm really interested to know who these people are who have empires because of your mentorship.
And I wanted to just say to also about if you're just coming on here. So there was another creator on here who is, for multi-level marketing, and he was insulting Glenn on here. So I just banned him. Glenn didn't want me to ban him, but I banned him. Because he's like, let everybody see the comments, but you know me. I'm like, fuck it, you're gone. You can go.
Vince has been pretending to be a nice guy with Marco, but he's proved on here that he is not a nice guy at all. He's not only is he misinformed, he's also not a nice person.
Yeah. And Leslie saying this too. You even said you still respected Ray not too long ago before you'd unpack the manipulation. Exactly. And I'm that's why, and I did all those videos as I was, deprogramming. You can see it. I did. It was so hard for me to try to make sense and to like separate. I'm like, but I respected him. And I'm like, but it wasn't respect. I had to find, I'm like, I just was afraid of him. I thought it was respect, but I was just in a cult, But you're right, Leslie. Yeah, I did say that. Yeah. All right. So if you want to take off, Glenn, you can. I'm going to just wrap up here. And
Awesome.
Yeah. So thank you so much. We'll have to do this again. You never know what's going to happen when we go live.
Yeah. Hopefully next time we speak, I would have had a debate with Vince, the home business king, and he might even be able to mentor me and educate me, and I might have a business empire by the end of it.
You could. You could open up that franchise in Australia.
I could be a multi-millionaire the next time we speak because of Vince's wisdom. Fingers crossed. All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Glenn. See you. Okay. Here we go. All right. It's just me back on. So if you just got on here, you're like, what the hell is going on? David G says, to say he was insulting Glenn is generous. He was scratching his own fragile masculinity. Yeah. Monica says, I saw his comment. Yeah. I was, well, you don't know what's going to happen, Yeah. So thank you for watching. And I wanted to kind of end with this. If you're somebody that is in multi-level marketing and you're starting to wake up, which maybe you aren't even using those terms yet. DC had made a really good comment on one of my live streams before where she said it was like the tea, like she was in MLM, it felt like the tea bag is in the hot water. And it's like, how do you separate this? There's so many people that use really interesting ways to describe their experiences. And that one has really stuck with me. Maybe you're just starting to see a lot of contradictions. You're like, I don't know what I've been a part of. So I just want you to know that these feelings are natural and that the shame and guilt that you might be feeling is part of it. And that you might feel as soon as you kind of grasp one concept, like, but wait a second, I kept saying my business, it can't be a pyramid scheme because pyramid schemes are illegal or pyramid schemes don't sell products. You're starting to understand that it can take a lot of time. So just please know that that's normal. And you've been a part of something. You've been a part of a cult. And I know that you can really, love the people, love the products, love, your experiences, but yet you're starting to be like, how do I explain away this other shit that I see that's going on? all these other people that have the same experience I do in different multi-level marketing companies, it's a lot. So just please be gentle with yourself, and you're not alone. There is healing. There's healing through this, and it can be rough as fuck. But if there's one thing that people in multi-level marketing are really good at, is getting out of our comfort zones. And so you can use that. There's a lot of tools that multi-level marketing has stolen. They've taken it and that's the truth. That's the attractive part. And they use that to get us in and to keep us in, because if there wasn't good, if there wasn't like a good product, if there wasn't like a good community, if there wasn't good parts, you wouldn't stay. You wouldn't be attracted to it in the first place. So these things like getting out of your comfort zone, doing something that, being grateful for, what you've been part of, or just having gratitude. Those two things, being grateful and getting out of your comfort zone, you can use that to help you heal. And you can use that to like lean into learning about what you've been a part of. So it's like, why is it that no one in multi-level marketing has ever taught you the simple basic business 101, just track your expenses and track your income? Why does nobody teach you that? That doesn't make any sense. How could something so simple be just glossed over, just ignored? Why would they say that an expense isn't an expense, but it's an investment in yourself? How come you watched Escaping Twin Flames on Netflix and you saw parallels and you got weird feelings thinking like, this is like MLM. This is like being in my MLM coaching group, Rank Makers. I encourage you to use that. That's one of your secret weapons. I swear, it's like, that's what I feel like anyway. We're good at getting uncomfortable. You've probably done live videos. You've made content. Probably you're like, holy shit, I've made some cringe content. Lean into that discomfort and go on and start looking up anti-MLM content. Look up John M. Taylor on the FTC website. Find out where does the statistic of 99% come from? Why do people just say, no, that doesn't exist? Read Ponzinomics. Go on Stephen Hassan's site, Freedom of Mind, and start learning about cults. All right. And Monica says, it's not truly love because when you leave, they block you. They can't accept your friendship because you decided to do something else. Even if you did not speak ill of the MLM, it does not matter. That's right. It doesn't. So thank you very much for watching. And I think I'm going to play a little bit of a song here for you. Actually, no, you know what? I'll just end it because it's almost at 2.5 hours. I can just like end it there. It's at 2:27. So that's what I wanted to leave you with, especially if you're in multi-level marketing. Please know that you're not alone. And to every person that was on here tonight, thank you so much for your comments. Comments are so important. It's just like when we're in multi-level marketing, the social proof keeps us in and it attracts other people. That's why we'll say to, we're in a team group. Can somebody please, comment on my post to boost it for the algorithm? It's giving a false impression that there's all these people interested in your business or that you're successful, that you have all these customers, when it's just other people in your pyramid scheme. On the outside of this, the social proof of various comments, people that have been in multi-level marketing, people who haven't, people who have been in real estate, they're saying all these pieces of content, all these comments are so helpful to people that are starting to question. They're starting to wake up. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Oh, this was wild.